We got here too early.
No.
We got here just in time.
Girl, you don't understand the way I be showing up early to everything.
I don't like showing up early. Stop.
I need to be everywhere like 30 minutes early. It's so much calmer. Rushing makes you stressed.
I'm sad. I don't know. No. I like when Maria's here.
Hello? Crust roast?
Is there anyone else's taste? Like that on your Is there anyone else's taste?
Hello?
Click on your audio for your game. You have to.
Oh.
And then yeah. And hopefully.
Hello, Jack.
Hello? Hello? Okay. Yay, thank you.
What is the vibes?
I don't know, but I'm playing my Sunday brunch playlist.
Yes. I
This-
want to listen.
I figured we needed some.
This is enough.
This song's good. Why am I sitting right in between the bowl? This sucks.
Okay, I'm gonna keep listening to the song with this song. You don't take this
So much. Oh, I really appreciate that.
This song's so good. I don't think he's terrible. This song reminds me of have you heard Edith Baker's speech? Really, really
You
good.
have to send it to me so I can add it to the list. Okay. I think it's typically Testament.
What do I do?
How are you? Good.
Thank you.
It's actually.
I made it. Thanks.
Yes. Done.
We've got him. We've got Marianne's.
Oh, I love this. That's such a good idea. Honestly, any music I think will be a nice start. Oh, yay.
What happened?
I got it.
I need Mario here now. Like comes to go talk to Eldridge about something, and the guy that's in our class, like honestly, he'll go through class like this, with, like a bottle of pop, and just sit there like not taking notes. He'll strip his slumped like this. We just had an essay, like our first essay, and it was a fucking opinion essay. Okay. Apparently, the dude wrote it all in AI.
What?
So Eldridge was tearing it into things.
Yeah. It's my Sunday brunch playlist. It's taking like a year and a half to create.
Wait, if those music is good.
I would love that.
Yeah, let's okay. Nice.
I got Carolina singing food up there.
Loudest it gets.
Oh, no, I don't.
Turn it up a little.
I didn't want to compete.
Yeah, no, I just didn't realize it had started.
I didn't think Madonna was quite. I think like a virgin is the centric between. I think that
It could be.
I don't disagree.
Anyone need a name?
Any excused absences?
Just,
Okay.
Jeff said he wouldn't be here for part of it, and I said he better show up when we're voting.
Dominic, how are you? Not bad.
Well, this is also his. Availability is free. It's in the business for.
No, I'm kidding. My boss always comes up to me and does this when she knows I'm having a good day.
I thought you were about to say she, and I was about to be like, girl, what?
She's. I have your thingy because I thought you were already up here.
Exactly. Yeah, it was nice. It was the one that for the child. Yeah, that's what I'm
Hi, Sohain.
Look,
How are you? I know. It's so nice out today. I feel energized. Yeah.
62 to feel, but.
Like I need it to stay like this. If it gets cold again, I'm gonna lose my mind. Yeah. This is your birthday present. The sunshine. Great. Yeah.
Thank you. Listen. Yes, please. Oh, I think we're good. I think we all set up, right? Nice. Well, right. That's Ethan's record player. Nice record player, Ethan. It sounds really good. It sounds good. It's echoing through this entire room. You liar.
It's got good volume.
Where'd you get it from? Wow.
They play them like, but it's like.
Yeah. My dad has my great grandma's record player in our basement, and it's like a full like piece of furniture, like with the record player built in. And he wouldn't let me have it. So my grandma had to give me my, but he doesn't use it. He doesn't have a record.
But you know what
Yeah, I love this.
I mean. And that. You have any? Yeah.
So what should I do? I'm regular radio. It's actually nice to listen to regular radio every now and then. I have to like, especially. Yeah. Especially.
Dude, I can't believe it came up so fast.
Yeah, I gotta let my guy say something. We're back with the induction.
Oh, girl, I have to be
Okay, you're getting inducted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I?
I swear. You see this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was in my dad's school.
That's not tomorrow.
Right now. Yeah, and so I was like, yeah, I just gotta take a day off, like.
I take.
Oh, yeah, great. I'm good.
It's nice. It's nice to see.
It's such a good day out. It's a good day to be
Yeah,
out.
it's beautiful. Oh, yeah, it's like summer.
Yeah, so yes, it is.
Oh my, and it definitely SAFE over the sea.
Well,
Busy day.
There's a lot of things, there's different roles.
Every day
gets
it's
done.
done, yeah, like a lot of things, you think it's in them. Oh, let's have a meeting on business day. It's to the volunteer. And it's something happens again, and I make fun of it. That's what it is, always the fault. I love it. It's so funny. I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay, so that's what I mostly mean to Jack. No, this is just the meat.
Jack's canned and sweet.
Oh, thank you.
It's the mascot.
Somebody, Jack.
I love Jack.
But you were. You were good too. I was like, oh.
All right, hello everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you all for being here. Before we go ahead and call the meeting to order, President Garcia is going to make two different announcements just to preface our meeting today.
It's less announcements, it's just a quick refresher on parliamentary procedure, but only on two fronts. I promise it's not gonna last more than 2 minutes. One of the things that I wanted to clarify things about is like the difference between abstaining on a vote and voting nay on something. I think a lot of people abstain on things just so as another form of saying like nay or like because they don't agree with the bill, which is completely fine. But I think that people don't realize that it doesn't have the effect they think it has. Sometimes when you abstain, it's essentially like you're not there. But it's not really working against the bill. It's just kind of like making the pool of voters smaller. That's just one FYI. Either way, you are still free to abstain whenever you want to. You can vote how you want to. No explanation needs to be given. But I just wanted to give that FYI. And then the second thing that I wanted to do, which was a little bit more of like just relaying what Chairperson Brummer wants to highlight, is that there's an issue of people leaving the room, and then it kind of sends us all into chaos because we are unsure if we have quorum or not. So just to reinforce, this is based on Robert's rules. If you're going to be leaving the room and you're a voting member, so this doesn't apply to e-board or gallery members, but if you are a voting member, please make sure to raise your hand and give point of privilege. Basically you just say point of privilege, I'm leaving the room. You don't have to say where you're going, but it's good for the chair to be able to track which members are leaving. And when they're leaving, just so that we know when we lost quorum or not. That's all it is. Alrighty, that's all that I have. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. First up on the agenda today, we have roll call. Please let me know if you are present or present and voting. Speaker Johnson. Majority Leader Smith. Chairperson Smith. Would someone be able to close that door over there? Thank you. Chairperson Valdez. Chairperson Markowitz.
Present.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali.
Present.
Legislator Arnold.
Present.
Legislator Childs. Legislator DeVore. Legislator Jozwicki. Legislator Duong. Legislator Ibeza. Legislator Mays. Legislator Mason.
Present.
Legislator Mullins. Legislator Prashandaro. Legislator Rosario. Legislator Smith. Legislator Waters. Legislator Wiegand. Legislator Wolf. Legislator Smith. Legislator Mays, are you present or present in voting? Okay. And Legislator Iversa? Okay, thank you. Alrighty, and with that, we meet quorum. Next up on the agenda is our land acknowledgement. We recognize the wrongs done to those forcibly removed from their homelands and commit to fostering an environment of inclusion that is responsive to the needs of First Peoples through our words, policies, and actions. Next up on the agenda, we'll move to the approval of agenda. Is there any motions to amend the agenda at this time?
Motion to amend the agenda. Would it be possible to?
No, you can't motion, you're not a rule.
Oh,
Just kidding. If you can, I mean, you guys,
remove the line. Go to the second cell.
For. Go to second bill.
So second.
So there,
Louder.
there's a motion to
The 26th bill?
Yeah, as the second.
move CB 6726 to be the second bill under old business. Is there a second to this motion? Seconded by legislator Mays. Thank you. Okay, is there any other motions to amend the agenda at this time? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and move to a voice vote approval of the agenda. Is there any nays at this time? Any yays? All right, with that, the agenda has been approved. All right, next up on the agenda, we have guest speakers. First up under guest speakers, we have Gio Liotti and Dana Ferreira, former chair of SAFB and advisor to SAFB. This is presented by Director Lehman Pace.
Hey, so this is just pertaining to the upcoming bills, talking about the SAFB changes. I wanted people from and involved with the SAFB to have a voice. As we know, former chairperson Liotti is not able to speak during general minutes as they are no longer a member of this body, but I figured by giving them a guest speaker slot, they would be able to share their unique perspective as what? Two-year chair? As yeah, two-year chair of the SAFB. Thank you.
Also, before we get started, just so we know, there will be a 15-minute limit for guest speakers today.
Is that amendable? Like.
Yeah, you can motion
we
to
go
extend it.
Gotcha.
We can get some clarification on both the discussions that were involving SASB last week. I didn't realize we made this. Okay, so pertaining to the 1%, I just wanted to give some clarification about that. When SAFB came up with the plan to give them 1%, if someone else stepped up as well, was maybe responsibility last year when it was through the legislature. So that was kind of made this as a response because the legislature last year was really that word about SAFB giving percent and that organization doing so. So we came up with that plan to try to make it, I guess, more fair. And what happened at the last NAPA meeting was that we weren't told directly that we should kind of stop doing that. We have been clear with the OEC leadership that that was our plan. And it's the rush of the semester too, but we weren't told, so we were pressing on that plan. And what happened is, well, the 1% was taken from us forcefully against our wishes, and that was really unfortunate. We do want to help club sports, which is why we came up with that plan in the first place. Last year, we gave up 1% willingly, and that was shut down. So we thought, okay, this one other plan is going to be better for club sports if we get another percentage. But yeah, we just want to try using a point of advantage of being to SAFAC boards that have 25% of SAFAC funding. Yeah, so as it stands right now, because it was taken forcefully from SAFB, SAFB looks selfish for not taking that, for not giving it that 1% willingly, because we understand SAFB has a really big cushion. That is by nature of what we do. SAFB has to give money to a whole bunch of organizations, and for the longest time before COVID, SAFB works without a cushion at all. So that's basically the explanation for why SAFB has such a big cushion. It's more of a precaution. So what happened before the pandemic? Again, SAFB had no one. And we hope that the court will be able to let student athletes with the extra percentage and the SAF increase if that gets approved. And yeah, SAB is fine with giving up that 1%. Of course, the last final say is Mia's, but I did discuss this through with her. If it means that the courts is able to do more, we just wish that other organizations with the same power to give up a little would have done the same. Okay, so I want to begin this by pointing out some stuff about the corporation. And I know you're tired of hearing from us being a basketball with bills, and that's probably more bills than we put up throughout the entire year. But in order to make a decision on whether or not SAP is separating from USC, I need all the legislators to know how SAP works, to know the bylaws, because I know a majority of you, not everyone, but a majority of you are not as familiar with the bylaws as we need you to be. But I need you to know that it does say in OUSC, you need to know these things, everything in the bylaws, everything about how it. And I need to share a tiny little bit because that is an entire different organization that you guys are responsible for. So an entire organization with almost 300 student clubs, student organizations, hinging on your shoulders. So if you don't care at all, you're putting all those nearly 300 organizations in jeopardy, including those that I know some of you are part of, either as regular members or permanent. So please make an effort to hear what the SAP board has to say in this meeting and in general, and make an effort to learn how SAP works, because if you don't, that's another reason for SAP not to trust ways to deliver this. And about the separation, I am going to say, I have never been entirely in favor of it. There's a reason why this is going up now that I'm not their person. But I do know why SAP is pushing for it, because I've been hearing their arguments since they became chair. I see the points that SAP board is making, because the relationship with SAP is not and I hope you all have never convened as well. Because while I had a meeting chairperson, still probably have gone up, but that's because I was comfortable with the way that things work. But I understand that is because I've been listening for years. You get comfortable, you do. But SAP gives way more than it receives in support, and that has anything like that. That's definitely doing these things in 2022. And I know it's been happening for a way longer. Our board help tabling all the time and filming over the same enthusiasm. And there have been cases in the past when I had just started being coach, started being chairperson, that I had to go weeks longer without a board because OUSC wasn't able to approve my time. So because OUSC didn't inform, SAFB couldn't hire people and couldn't pass on the bylaws that we implemented things, and that meant that we were behind from the beginning with the chair. And that might seem a bit minor to you all, but when SAFB say functions stating all the facts, that means board members. Having to go weeks longer without one extra board member means we are all behind. Yeah. So I know that this forceful taking of the 1% is what cemented the idea of separation in a lot of the board members' minds, especially like there's people who've been in SAFB for years in the board and who just came in and they were all in agreements, which I'm going to say is not something that I saw often while being chairperson of SAFB. So what else is SAFB supposed to do when they feel like they have the front with them? But this isn't a call out on anything, but please be aware that it isn't symbiotic. It isn't that. It's a lot of giving and SAFB receiving not as much support as we would hope. I hope you don't hold this against SAFB and try to understand the situation with an open mind, because it comes from a long buildup of frustrating circumstances that I tried to appease as best as possible when I was chairperson, but I was one person appeasing 4 different people's opinions that varied wildly on why someone should separate. And while I can't say that I'm for the separation yet, because like I said, I've been here for 3 years. I think the relationship can be salvaged. essentially, like, I believe that it can become better. But please hear the SFB board out because they are the ones that are going to stay here. I'm not working in SFB. I'm here of my own free will and time. But please hear them out, hear their opinions with an open mind. And if you're able to, please familiarize yourself with SFB's bylaws, or at least the way that SFB works in. And yeah, so I also want to add that Dana is probably the most involved advisor that I've seen in my time at SFB. So while she's up here in the next couple of minutes, please hear what she has to say about it. And that is all that I need to say. Thank you guys for hearing me.
Is there any questions from Gio before Dana takes the stage? Director Lehman Pace?
You had mentioned that in your view, the relationship between SAFB and OUSC is more of a give on the part of SAFB and take on the part of OUSC. Do you have, I guess, I know you had mentioned that there were some changes that you would like to see made to help salvage the relationship. Would you be willing to share some of those with the body so that we can consider trying to make things more equitable?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is just having most of the people in the familiarize themselves with the bylaws, because I do know some of you who have like personal company and ask stuff about SAFC. Like, I know some of you were interested, some of you were involved in like care, but I know that some of you have not read the bylaws. And I'm gonna say, before I came into SAFC,
Some haven't read our bylaws, so it's.
It's important for the functioning of the SAFC. Please become familiar, with all of the SAFC bylaws, at least as a person, become familiar with the way that SAFC works. If you don't want SAFC to separate the two. Any more questions?
Okay, seeing none, thank you, Gio.
So, many of you may recognize me, and there may be in this meeting that my name is Jenna Pereira, and I'm a work in the Legislation Department as the economic board who oversees all spending in our business. It includes all staff actions. I was asked to be a guest speaker and speak upon this advisor. I do attend most weekly meetings and help to clear up any conflicts that student organizations may be having in email. A few items I noticed in the tone is that our collaboration with SAFB and OSI has significant experience and seen the reason that they have override right now, and the fact that they aren't independent. These things have really been shown to me, and I just wanted to brief on a little bit of it and what I experienced. So the collaboration between SAFB and OSI has not always been a fluid and transparent flow. We are currently working hard on understanding why we do what we do independently. They have included me in learning about their bylaws while I allowed them to see into my process and how they are so detrimental in what I do on a day-to-day basis. More than 80% of my day deals with SAFB purchases, from reviewing budget requests for approval, denial, revisions, to answering last-minute panic from late submissions, to pricing changes between approvals and ordering. So much of what I see over in my position at OU has to have detailed backup to ensure that we are here for audits. This includes all items purchased by OSI. Being within OU's policies and OSI procedures, as well as what SAFB will allow or not allow per their bylaws. SAFB works alongside my needs to ensure that I have ample time ordering items, and then I get the backup I need on behalf of my company. Due to this connection that we deeply share, it is inevitable that we know what one another is doing while both respect our own. The past advisor did not see the magnitude on how both SAB and OSI Finance heavily rely on one another. Therefore, I can say that this development of being on the same page and attending meetings together has been nothing but beneficial. We are currently working together with the UTS department, creating a combined form that will allow SAFB and OSI to be in one approval. This will speed up the purchasing process for all organizations. I feel like SAFB has been more than capable in fully representing themselves in these meetings with me. And I have been blown away at how helpful they have been in making things better, faster, cheaper for SAFB student organizations and for oversight. The overrides are very small compared to the number of orders we have and approved. I have to say I have witnessed this SAFB group work hard and put in the hours to ensure that and current work issues before an override was needed. I believe all parties involved in a specific instance in which we could come to an agreement before an override was needed was happy with the conclusion. SAFB has shown to me that they're capable of handling more complex issues as they arise that may go against their norms or their violence. The way the overrides are now, SAFB has to include all the details to OUSC president, which is really difficult to get a full picture of an override detail in such short amount of time. As SAFB tries to look over the entire from the beginning first request. So it's just really difficult to fully portray everything just in such a small amount of time to an outside group who's not always in the meeting. All staff acts are made of students who are passionate over their organization. This is immensely true for SAFB. They work hard to understand organization's purposes. They notice patterns in their bylaws that may conflict and they need to be addressed. And they do meet with me in ensuring that OSI and SAFB feel better than they have been very constructive in their opinions and have actually given me a run for my money when they don't see eye to eye with OSI. However, through it all, I feel they are strong and fully capable of running as an independent staff academy. Do you have any questions on behalf of OSI, Finance, and myself?
Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you, Dana. We appreciate it. All right, next up for guest speakers, we will have Kyle Reese from Club Sports. This is presented by President Garcia.
Because one of our bills today talks a lot about club sports, and a lot of us are, I think most of us, I think we only have one member who is actually part of a club sport. So I thought it was, or maybe two, I think two now. But I thought it was important to just get club sport perspective on this, just because we've been mentioning them a whole lot. Give you the floor.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Gotta indicate your voice about it. Thank you all for having me today and allowing me to speak. I'm gonna be quite candid. I only found out I was speaking with you all today about an hour ago. So I don't have a prepared speech, but it's something I can talk about ad nauseam. Thankfully, I have 15 minutes since I have a meeting through. I come here today really quite frankly out of desperation. Club sports is in a very tricky spot right now with our finances. Currently, we receive 6% of all student fees collected via tuition, and quite frankly, that's not enough. We receive $50,000 on average throughout the year, and our clubs take, according to one of my assistants who couldn't be here today, it takes around $343,000 into legal clubs. So you see, there's a big gap. And the only way that I can start to close that gap is by raising your allocation. This is imperative because if it is not raised, It is not a matter of if we lose, it is a matter of how many we lose. And I can think of about 4 right now that we will lose if our funding is not increased. And I hate to be so negative about it, but that's just the reality of the situation. This group, time and time again, since I've been here, and it's 3 years actually today, has told me that they support students, and I wholeheartedly believe you. But we need help. And we actually are so in dire need of help that I have to now, in a way, start rooting against my club's team success. Because I don't have money to help them go to national tournaments. I'll give you an example. Our D3 hockey team is currently rated the number 14 in the country for Division III hockey, 4th. They lost 5 games, I think, all year, and that was actually this past Friday, they lost heartbreaker in overtime. To Denison, I think, no. Yeah, I think. They need, I think it's around 14 grand to send them to nationals in St. Louis for the week. I can't come close. Like, not even a little bit. I can maybe give. Well, that. We're already asking them to do so much money, we're going to ask them to give more. When on top of all their practices, all of their academic commitments, all of their work commitments, Lance is one is prime example. Being a part of club sport is awesome because you get to represent your university on a different level. Lance, on those New Jerseys you all got, what's it say on the front? It all says Oakland University too. Whether this university wants to admit that they are on this campus or not, I promise you they are. When our women's team went to nationals in Texas for the 2nd year in a row and beat the number 3 team in the country. Who do you think was the first Instagram post like it? It was Oakland University banning. So I am coming today again to ask you and implore you to please break our allocation. Because we are taking the opportunity for teams to compete. I haven't turned away. I think it's 5 clubs this year that want to be club sports, and we don't have the money to do it. So not only are we telling people that they can't be a part of the club sport, we're also telling them that we're gonna lose. So I'm now caught between both parties. And that sucks for me because I never want to take away an opportunity. So I'll leave you all with that. I'm willing to answer any questions that you all have, but thank you for your time and for listening to me.
Speaker Johnson?
Hi Kyle, how you doing this wonderful afternoon? Firstly, I wanted to thank you for coming by to speak with us this afternoon. So, one of the things I've done in my capacity as chair of the Research and Review Committee is I've done a lot of extensive research into the student activity fee, what raising it could look like and what the different allocation levels are. As proposed in our legislation, with club sports, should they get a bump to 8% funding, and should we raise the student activity fee, they could project, this is based on attendance, but I'm gonna use all attendance.
Yeah.
You could potentially receive about $50,000 for 1 semester, which should attendance stabilize, could potentially be up to about $100,000 over the fall and winter semesters. Would you be able to give an idea of what more you could do with that level of funding comparative to where you're at right now?
Absolutely, that is a fantastic question. So what we could do is, one, we could help more teams get to national and pay the full amount. We are actually one of the very few schools at the national level who does not fund their club fully. Lance is, again, I don't mean to keep bringing him up, he won hockey, they compete in the most competitive division within club hockey. I believe out of the 2 other clubs in the league that you all are in, they are the only ones not funded. We can help with jerseys, we can help with trips to nationals, we can help with practices on campus, because as Lance can tell you, their high school loan is $65. And I paid, right, like that's a literal drop in an ocean. So It's about the 40 minutes taking that phase and working in the board. Is it gonna solve the problem? No, it's me. Solve the problem that I need 350,000 that. Right? But if we can help more, then it opens it up for people to. If that answers your question, thank you. That was good, that's what.
Any other questions at this time? All right, seeing none, oh,
Sorry,
our Director of Executive Platforms.
sorry. I guess. Sorry, I had been spending a minute trying to think of how I wanted to word it. I guess club sport, what? I know, obviously, with this bill passing, we would hit 8% funding for you. I'm wondering what, if you had it all, you know, the world is your oyster, what percent would you think would be sustainable for club sports at the current level, not even factoring for projected growth of new clubs or like other students coming in and wanting to be a part of it? That's my first question to you.
Yeah, so big that's a question, thank you. I've actually talked about this at length with my program assistants, and again, they're not here, they've been the ones talking. We've been pushing this for years now, but this agreement for 6% was made 11 years ago when we had 10 clubs, we're now at 20.
Oh my God.
So ideally,
Sorry.
it's, we get 12%, but that is, I know that is incredibly reasonable, and I would not ask any other member of staff act to give up all of that. I mean, that you all have things we're doing too. Like, I'm not trying to discredit anything, but based on what was made 11 years ago and what is in place now, we would, I mean, we need at least.
Okay, and I definitely agree with you. I think that's something to consider down the line. I think that there's some fat that could be trimmed in certain areas, because honestly, I think I could definitely foresee more student athletes joining if it was made more accessible. But I guess my follow-up to you, well, not a follow-up to that question, just another question for you. I guess. I'm sorry, I still am not finding the words for it, so I'm gonna return the mic.
All right, is there
The concepts of the question.
any other questions before we go ahead and move on? All right, seeing none, thank you, Kyle. We appreciate you coming and speaking about it. All right, really quickly before we move on to announcements, I just wanted to tend to the roll call sheet. I know we had some walk in that I missed. Legislator Smith, present or present in voting? All right, thank you. Legislator Rosario, are you present or, oh, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure. Yes, Legislator Iveza. Thank you. Am I missing anyone else?
Oh, Legislator Child.
Oh, yes, Legislator Childs, are you present or present in voting?
Present.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Right. Moving on, next up on the agenda is announcements. Under announcements, we have a special announcement from Director Richardson.
Let's go, Director Richardson. Taylor, I had to professionalize it.
Thank you, everyone, appreciate it. So I will get into the special announcement in just a second, but I want to make quick reminders really quickly. Orientation is officially over, so is platforms due date. I finally have all of those. Kickoff is this Wednesday at 9 AM, March 12th. I cannot stress that enough. Nothing will be discussed about kickoff or anything like that before that time. Also, I just want to make sure that everyone's aware of what campaigning looks like. There are a lot of rules regarding campaigning. Please look at the packet. Everything is in the drive. I want to make sure that everyone knows that it is your responsibility to please check the housing, OU, and OSI guidelines. They are in the drive. You cannot stress that enough. It is your responsibility to do so. If you break the rules and I find out and you tell me I just didn't know, that's not an excuse. There is no excuse going forward. You guys know it is your responsibility. Make sure that everyone knows that no OUSC sponsored events or OUSC events cannot campaign there. I'm sure everyone is aware of that, remembers that. And then also you cannot use as a campaign Like you cannot use any OUC resources for campaigning material. That involves everything that's in my desk. I mean, any staplers, any paper clips, any clamps, nothing like that. You cannot use those resources. I do not want us to find something and then use it as a campaign material. You can also not use the printer. Do not use the printer under any circumstances. So, yeah, just make sure that you cannot use OUSC funding to fund your campaign. That's not gonna happen. Do not let it happen. You guys know the rules. Other than that, I know I said that I would post the open post questions to the drive if you are running. The open post questions were not sent to me. Because they were, hopefully I'll be getting those very soon. I'm sorry. For that, I can really take off my election commissioner meat face and say that my special announcement was just to say that happy birthday. Really quick. Yes, okay, ready?
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Yeah. Birthday to you. Alrighty, thank you, Director Richardson, and happy birthday, Legislator Valdez. All right, moving on, we will next go to new business. We have nothing under new business today, so we'll move on to old business. First up is CB 6723. This is presented by President Garcia. You have the floor. Oh, also, before you begin presenting, I am going to be marking Majority Leader Smith present. I received a text. Received.
Here?
Yeah, online.
Or Coro.
Okay, so you guys already heard some perspectives from outside people. Now it's your turn to make this decision for yourself. As you know, SAPAC meets monthly to assess how we distribute our funds. And as you know, to be able to make a change, we need the legislature to approve it before we send it to the student. So this is your time to have your say. So the proposals that we agreed on at the SAPAC meetings were to give was to increase the student activity fee from $27.50 to $40. Give 1% from SAFB to club sports and 1% from special projects funds to club sports. So yeah, I will say that I do see the argument of, you know, I do see the argument of a lot of people who think it's unfair that SAFB had to give up 1% instead of SPB, but I'm gonna be completely realistic with all of you. The way that the SAPAC voting members would have never approved are never going to approve, at least in this year, and potentially other years, a percent from SPB. If we want an increase in funding for club sports, which I think we're all on the same page with, that they need funding, the only viable and realistic option here is from SAFB, as much as I don't like to admit it, but it's the reality. So as chairperson of the SAPAC organization, I am now presenting these proposals to you all, so I'm gonna allow you to ask any question.
Chairperson Markets.
I'd like to motion to split the bill up into two votes. And so I would like to be split into the student activity fee and the special projects fund on one. And then the percentage from SAFB on another one.
This motion is not to separate into two bills, but to vote on the proposal separately.
Yes, thank you.
It's called a division of the question. It's basically, yeah.
Second. Seconded by parliamentarian. Legislator DeVore.
Would like to raise a counter motion.
Okay, we're gonna have to vote on it.
I would also like to raise a motion to discuss.
Let's go over our. first motion.
Yeah. Let's go ahead with a vote.
Well, point of inquiry. I believe that legislator DeVore wanted to discuss the motion to divide the question. I think that that was.
Is
Thank
there,
you for the
is there a second for the motion to discuss? Seconded by legislator Christian. Chairperson Markowitz.
So just to provide some clarification for this reasoning, as I was talking to some other people around campus, one of the criticisms of us was that we tend to take a bunch of things and just stuff it into one bill and be like, okay, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And then just try and get it through. And so last year, one of the criticisms was like, what, you didn't give club sports any increase? Like, we didn't even talk about it. And so there was a lot of backlash towards student Congress because of that. And I want to make sure, because we represent the student body, that student orgs see, hey, we voted on this in 2 separate rulings. Like, this isn't just, it didn't just go through or get denied because it was all stuffed into one. Like, it was voted on its own, and that was the reason that it passed or was declined by the legislature.
Legislator DeVore.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, I'm not against that in any way. I just wanted to give clarification to the rest of the legislature on why we are motioning to separate everything. Just wanted to say that.
Also, I will say that when you reject the motion, it kind of just gives you an opportunity to vote, the motion just go forward.
Legislator Wolf.
This is just a general consideration that, overall might change how some people feel or even strengthen how they feel. But under some quick math, with the first clause within this bill, number 1, raise the student activity fee from $27.50 to $40. Overall, even with clause 3 in, SAFB will see an increase in, like, available funding for SAFB to, like, dole out to student organizations. And that is something to consider if that is something that might change any minds. Also, I do see the merit of taking a vote on, splitting the decision. But I'm sorry, this is a difficult issue, and I really want everyone to walk away like calm, cool, and collected, and content with everything. And I really want us to look out from all sides and make sure that that we are being respectful and thinking about students overall. I yield the floor.
Quick question, are we timing discussion?
Oh, I wasn't.
Can somebody time discussion, please?
I'm on it.
Thank you. And
I don't know,
also,
deduct like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll deduct 5 minutes.
Advisor Miller.
Can you clarify, are you combining 2 together? Can you clarify which 2 that you are combining together as opposed to why not 3 separate? Reference.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but are we combining the votes? And I think that the reason is there is
Director Lyndon Pace.
Just to clarify, so the division of the question, it just means that we will vote on them separately. If the whole measure is passed, like if both of those provisions are passed, they will still remain as one, probably. However, we were originally going to handle the referendum, it will still be handled on the actual student ballot. But for the purposes of right here, say the first one passes and the second one fails, then we treat the second part as if it was never in the bill to begin with. I mean, like, with the current division that legislator Markowitz would put them together. Or I mean, vice versa. If just the final one passes, moving funding from the SAFB to club sports and the first two combined ones fail, then that won't be on the ballot. You know, it's just, it treats it like if you want to, if you're worried, I guess, to address the body, if you're worried that the bill as it stands won't pass, and you want the whole thing to pass, and you want club sports to at least get some funding, there is no downside to dividing the question, because you can just vote yes to both. If you only like the first part and don't like the second part, there is still no downside to dividing the question, because then you can still get club sports the funding and not include the provision that you don't like. There is basically no downside here, other than we have to vote on them as separate entities, and you have to make your opinion known on each one, which as student legislators, your opinion should probably be known anyway. This gives us more latitude to ensure that club sports will receive some kind of funding, rather than potentially risking the bill failing because people don't support 1 out of 3 provisions. Does that make sense? Awesome, thank you, I yield.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion to divide the question at this time? All right, seeing none. Parliamentarian Lunger, do you have a copy of Robert's rules?
Wait, I feel like this is kind of off topic.
Oh, no, I just wanted to look through it just to see any other, sorry. It's all good. That was
Okay.
It's not important.
Moving on from that inquiry, we will go ahead and move to a vote about whether or not to divide the question in regards to voting the Staff Act bill. Oh, also, before we get started, Legislator Smith, are you present or present and voting? Present or present? Present, okay, you're good, no worries. Great, is there anybody else before we move on to a vote that I do not currently have? Okay. I got him. All right, Chairperson Smith. Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins. Legislator Rosario.
Yay.
Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf. Speaker Johnson. Majority Leader Smith.
Yay.
Chairperson Valdez. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali.
Yay.
Legislator Arnold.
Yeah.
Legislator Childs.
Yay.
Legislator Drizwicki. Legislator Iveza. Legislator Iveza. Legislator Mays. Legislator Mason.
Yay.
Legislator Prishandaro. Legislator Smith. Legislator Wiegand. Legislator Smith. Alrighty, with that, the vote to divide the question has been approved by the legislature. Right. Since the pieces of the bill will be voted on separately, we can resume discussion about the points within the bill.
Yeah, so let's begin first with the first thing that we will be voting on, which is the first 2 points, which is raising the student activity fee from 2750 to 40, and decreasing the special projects fund from 1 to 0, and increasing the club sports percentage from 6 to 7. Also, that little A subsection is just clarifying that the remaining amount of money that's in the special projects fund is also going to go to club sports. Is there any discussion?
Director Lehman Pace.
Taylor, if you could rewind the clock.
I did just now.
Do we know how much money is currently in the special projects fund account that will go towards club sports, just so we know what boost they'll get from the get-go?
I think advisor.
About 9,000.
Okay.
Legislator Wolf.
For the new faces, as far as I understand, the special projects fund was a recent addition during, the time of COVID. If, Advisor Miller might correct me on that, that the special projects fund was a recent addition due to the COVID crisis? No, okay. Could she tell us a little bit about special projects?
The Special Projects Fund has been a longstanding account for SAFAC. It was originally called bad debt. And it was something that was part of the SAFAC, I mean, the SAF funds way back when. And there was no longer, because of no longer, I think of fees, we only had the SAF. And we didn't have to switch to it. So this SAFAC organization created the Special Projects Fund. So that, because we still had that 1% that we need to do something with. So it has been, as long as SAFAC has been around, the Special Project Fund is also.
Part of my.
But it's only 1%. And what it was used for before was either SAFAC organizations or sometimes student organizations would ask for coverage of something. A good example was the goalposts for the fields, and that funded it. And at one time, Gold Vibrations had come before us because they were competing internationally and needed assistance for competing internationally. There's 2 examples of how it's been used in the past.
Legislator Wolf? Thank you so much, Advisor Miller, for like that historical perspective. I thank you so much for that. To the first part of, this, clause number 1, this is beyond necessary. This simply will have, raised, the student activity fee from, when it first was set, paced with inflation, this is simply, protecting the value of our fee from our students' tuition from inflation to make sure that we can still provide the same value. And regardless of any other changes to percentages of the allocations, I believe this is imperative to continuing SAFAC and all that. I yield the floor. Legislator Regan?
Make sure you're talking into the microphones. You're all good.
I'm in favor of giving the club sports more money because I think that they do need it. However, I think that there is a lot of waste that needs to be addressed. There are club sports that I wouldn't necessarily classify as club sports, like the Electric Racing Association. SAU team, we're not classified as a club sport. We get all of our funding from companies. We go out and get sponsorships. In addition to that, there's esports teams such as Yu-Gi-Oh esports team and Super Smash Club, which, the definition of a sport, which I have pulled up on my computer, is a game, competition, or activity needing physical effort and skill that is played or done according to the rules for enjoyment or as a job. So I don't think that, so even though I do think they deserve more money, I think there is waste that needs to be addressed. I think that there are also other sports that I would love to see as club sports, such as wrestling. There's a ton of other sports that I could list off that deserve a spot as a sport other than these ones. So even though I am in favor of giving them money, I think they need to do a better job of managing which sports are actually sports. Thank you.
Can I respond to that? I think that's kind of like, beyond voting on right now, but I'm really glad that an advisor from Club Sports is here today, so I would recommend probably just talking to him for the meeting, just to address that, and he probably has some stuff to say about that, but
Point of information. Sorry, I thought you were done. My bad. I'll wait till you're done. I guess I was wondering, I know like we are not allowed to defer to audience members, but would the advisor of club sports be treated as an advisor Or is it only OUSC advisors?
But I don't think that's like, into like the question that, you know? Cause I think that. I think
Chairperson Smith.
Thank you very much. So I just want to start off by saying I'm in favor of all decisions being passed. I believe that it's absolutely necessary for every single part of this bill to be passed. And I've heard murmurs from individuals in the past week since since President Garcia's last presented this, that people have the indication that raising the SAF would give club sports more than enough money to be fine for now, and just because of the way that the percentage was taken from SAFB, they want to vote that down. I want to counter that by saying it's important to pass all three of these because I feel like just raising the SAF is just putting breadcrumbs in front of club sports and saying, here you go, you're fine. That's not true. We need more than what we have now. Unfortunately, that's not possible at the moment, but what we have now is a good start. And I believe we should pass all three provisions. With that, I yield the floor.
Just one thing to preface our discussion to make sure that we can be as efficient as possible. Since we're only going to be voting in the initial two clauses at first, if we can focus on primarily discussing those for right now, and then we'll have discussion separate with the third point following that. Legislator Christian Dar.
I wanted to ask, I believe Speaker Johnson brought it up earlier in this meeting, what was the current budget for the club supports as it exists before this bill? Do we have some number?
the current speaker. Current bill?
Yeah, like the dollars.
That. We looked at the.
Information. So I double checked, I checked the Constitution actually doesn't say the word advisor at all. It's just a standing rule that we allow advisors to speak. And I didn't see it in the bylaws that I've checked, though I haven't checked bylaw number 4. Yeah, I looked, just the word advisor is not in the Constitution at all. So I think that it would be fair to, if we have a standing rule allowing advisors to speak, I feel like it would be fair to let a different advisor in the room speak. Though ultimately, that's the decision of either the chair or the parliamentarian.
Is the
I absolutely do, yes.
Hi.
All right, in the hat, black hat, name? Matthew, you bring up a great point. I don't doubt that we could probably trim some fat a little bit. I don't disagree. But some of those teams that you mentioned aren't club sports anymore, or have ever been. Like the e-racing one that's got the trailer out on the other side of campus. My knowledge, they've never been a club sport. I can provide an accurate one to you all, as soon as I get back to my office. We do not currently have esports teams on our roster. We did at one point, but we do not at this time. The big distinction, and I was kicking myself for not saying it up there, but the big distinction between a student org and a club sport is that you must compete and that you must compete against other schools. So, for instance, boxing, I think, is a student org here. Gina, correct me if I'm wrong. They do not fall under us. That would be a very big discussion with legal. We have 24. So some of those listed, I know are not right, and some of them that are not listed I don't know why they're not on there. I don't control what y'all get, but I can absolutely send that to President Garcia, Vice President Brummer. So you all can have an accurate list. But yeah, I promise you.
Double point of information, I'd like to issue a retraction. I was looking in an older version of the Constitution. I lied, I am sorry. You can kill me for it, that's okay. I would try to do my due diligence and I did my due diligence on an outdated variant. It does mention advisors and it specifies, the faculty or staff appointed to advise Oakland University Student Congress.
Okay, so we are out of time for discussion. So we will go ahead and move into a vote regarding the first two clauses. And again, just to make sure that we're very clear, I will preface that we are only voting on points 1 and 2 at this. All right, Chairperson Smith.
Yay.
Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins. Legislator Rosario. Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf.
Yay.
Speaker Johnson. Majority Leader Smith.
Yeah.
Chairperson Valdez. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali. Legislator Arnold. Legislator Childs.
Yay.
Legislator Drizwicki. Legislator Ibeza. Legislator Ibeza. Oh, my apologies, I didn't hear it. Legislator Mays. Legislator Mason. See a yay in the chat. Legislator Prishandaro. Legislator Smith. Legislator Wiegand. Legislator Smith. Yes. Rosario? Yes. Okay, so given that this is regarding a constitutional change, it requires 2/3 approval from the legislature, and we have received that with this vote. So clause 1 and 2 have passed. All right, so since we have approved clause 1 and 2, we will next move on and begin discussion for clause 3. Chairperson Markowitz.
Okay, so I'd like to address a few points. So, the first point, that you brought up about, some of the club sports, if they were even still club sports, being included and kind of trimming the fat. I think we need to keep in mind that, obviously everybody has different interests. And if they weren't in club sports, they'd be getting more funding in SAFB. So it's just a matter of where you want to put them. I don't think that, we shouldn't allow people, obviously, to participate, whatever they want to participate in. So I'll throw that out there. They would be a tier 5 club if they were a club sport, and that gets a maximum of 500. I can tell you as a tier 5 club in table tennis, usually we get $100, $200, $300. So they're not getting much, even if they were. On top of that, I want us all to keep in mind that we are voting on if the students get to vote on it. So I encourage you that if you are on the fence about SAFB giving up a percentage, keep in mind that there are a lot more people in student orgs than there are in club sports. And if you're not sure what the students think, they will tell you. And so if they don't think that this is fair, that's how they will vote. I don't think that will be a problem, but that is how they will vote. I encourage everybody to support the students' selection in this.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Legislator Prishandaro.
Thank you. I know that we don't have the specific number that we're starting from, but I just did some math and I wanted to talk about like the differences in the increase in budget between these clauses. 1 and 2, which we just passed from our end, clause 1 raises it by 45%, the club sports budget. Clause 2 raises it by a cumulative 70%, And if we pass clause 3 and that's approved, then that will approximately double the club sports funding overall. So I just wanted to share that, and I would like to, emphasize that even though it's very unfortunate that that this would take money from the student activities funding board, that 1% is 1/27th of the budget going to clubs, and it would represent a significant increase, 7 to 8% for club sports. It would be more meaningful to them, and that I am in support of it. Thank you. I feel it.
Great, any other discussion on the third clause? Okay, if there's no other discussion at this time, we'll go ahead and move right into a vote. Alrighty. Chairperson Smith. Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins.
Yeah.
Legislator Rosario.
Yeah.
Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf. Speaker Johnson. Majority Leader Smith.
Yeah.
Chairperson Valdez. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yeah.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali. Legislator Arnold. Legislator Childs.
Yeah.
Legislator Drizwicki. Legislator Iveza. Legislator Iveza. Legislator Mays. Legislator Mason.
Yay.
Legislator Prashandaro. Legislator Smith. Legislator Wiegand. Legislator Smith. All right, with that, clause 3 has been passed by the legislature. Alrighty. So the entirety of CV 6723 has been passed. Next up, under old business, we will move into CV 6726. This is presented by Chairperson Matthews. Yeah. Point of clarification from Advisor Miller.
I apologize, I think I misunderstood the intention before. When this goes on the ballot, this has been passed to be a referendum. Is it 3 separate referendums or 2 separate referendums? That's what I'm confused with. So clause 1 and 2 together and 3 separate, or 1, 2, and 3 separate? That's what I'm confused about.
Well, the division of the question was purely for the bill. However, it was going to be split up before is however it will still be split up. Division of the question literally just applies to a motion in the body. It means that we are voting on it in parts. The whole thing is still treated as passed as a whole. However, I mean, I don't know how SAFAC wanted it to be said, but the division of the question will just have no impact. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're good. All right.
Okay.
Okay, all good. Thank you. Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good. Thank you.
You don't want to stay for one more? Come on.
We'll be back.
You don't have to do that if you're coming back. If you're going to the bathroom, you don't have to appoint her. No, just so we, if you're leaving them in, not that.
As a clarification regarding the point of privilege, we only ask that you make the point of privilege if you will be leaving the meeting permanently. Just so we can adjust roll call. Anyways, I will go ahead and grant the floor to Chairperson Matthews.
But just that, we have asked using words and asked,
Would you hold the mic a little? Make sure you're aiming it towards you. It works in like a cone.
So we have, multiple clubs reach out to us, as a supporter, multiple presidents. And some even state their clubs on here, so this is not something that the student body does not want. However, like I said, we definitely need to do more reaching out, more campaigning, but this is something that, clubs have, been in favor of as far as I know. And also, this, right now, we're voting on just separation, and we're also voting on whether we allow students to separate. To vote separation, not on what SAFB would be after separation. However, due to, like I said, feedback and concerns from last meeting, I did prepare a presentation to go over how to operate if we were to separate. Yeah, just OUSC SAFB separation. So why is it necessary? So for our organization, we're on the new leadership, and with our professional leadership with Congress, we feel that it's no longer necessary for the maintenance and growth of SAFB. SAFB follows a different set of rules. We have bylaws in Congress. We have a different level of meeting with the state that approved by legislation. And we also have a full budget. We have now. We also have staff expanding. Therefore, we no longer think it is necessary that just to go through that second formality process of getting OUSD approved. So how can we ensure checks and balances? Our advisor is here right now, and he did speak on behalf of us. And we do feel that with our current advisor that we can have adequate checks and balances and not purchase anything that will university. So we cannot fund anything that would break any of the Oakland University schools. Also, with the SOS committee that I told last week, we did make a few changes based on the feedback that was supposed to be. And we also want to say that this committee would be more focused on transparency and not an oversight per se. So we're giving them updates, we're getting them kind of like reports and stuff like that, but we're not actually needing them for any oversight of like decisions we make. We're just presenting and being transparent with them about decisions that we make. So how would it benefit both organizations? So for activities, it would benefit us tremendously. We might have to be more efficient as we have to go make the entire system without board because OUSC could not make, and it would just get it, even my approval, just kept getting pushed back. Because you guys could not make quorum, and I also feel like long discussions and long meetings like this, SAFB doesn't even have like a vote or a say, so we don't feel like it's really adequate for us to be a part of the conference. Also, it helps you guys because if you were talk about stuff that you have knowledge of or you don't really care about, or if you care about, you can always come to us and talk to us aside, but at this as like your formality, there's no real need for that. Okay. So addressing concerns. So someone could influence SAFB to conduct unethical behavior. I would say that this can happen regularly, and I heard that it has been in the past. The SAFB understands unethical behavior. But I would say that with the separation decision, that we have now of full of ethics in this room, and also our filing that be as they can not anything that goes against local university policies, as well as the committee, because they will have a copy of open ethics, they can also report to our advisory committee as well. It is not open bill. So I would say that that's a valid point if you're talking about from USD's perspective. However, from SASB's perspective, like I said, it's tedious, it's unnecessary, and it is broken because if it's unnecessary, it is broken. And we feel like moving forward with the separation will be less work on working together. And since, it makes sense on our end because, and it might not make sense on your end, but from our perspective, it makes sense because of this efficiency and how it will benefit us. And separation would weaken student Congress support and student Congress SAFB support attack that. We thank you guys for your support and we always encourage your support. However, we do believe that we can sufficiently support ourselves when it comes to SAFB. And we also believe that if we were to be alleviated for blues. So right now there are
It's not just that, I think it's just discussion that's timed.
We'll just time discussion, so you can proceed as you need.
So as of right now, there's some things that we would like to discuss. But want to separate so that the higher and higher board members, approving bylaws and others. But right now, I say OUSD just starts with board. And we think that our advisors will have input and the outgoing chair to be this because they know best what a chairperson needs to be for SASB, and they should have a say in the matter, not just OUSD. And so I'm not gonna read like what we actually presented, but this is like our proposal of like how we would go about separation of the entire new chair. So I'm quick review, let's just get a hiring committee consisting of outgoing chair, advisor, or and in Congress. So right now, the OUSD is in charge of approving our board members. And we feel like that is unnecessary because SAP has done the due diligence themselves to make decisions. And we've never actually had guys. So I think that makes I'll give a sound judgment and approving. And as a formality, you guys approve that approval, but it is no longer necessary because we feel like we are sufficientness. And this kind of is the hiring process I wrote out for you guys. So basically, assistant chair will be chosen by the chair and advisor. And then the board membership, conducted by chair, assistant chair, and advisor. And then, they just come to a consensus of they would want to hire that position. So right now, OUSD is in charge of reviewing and approving our bylaws, essentially. And like I said, we are able to make sound decisions on bylaws. We are like any other SAFAC organization. And we cannot make any rules that go against OU policies or guidelines that will have to be put in. So like any other SAFAC organization, we believe that common sense to make appropriate decisions. And basically, this is just saying that this will be basically a 2/3 vote of the majority of the executive board with the consent of the advisor. That's basically what this is, and a lot of legalese. So you guys, and I also if you guys have to read it, if not, it's okay. But that's essentially what this is. And oh, yeah, okay, matter. So, we just here have, and if you present the member. And like I said, I feel like this is a very difficult process, just because, like, not, I believe that SAP has a better understanding and how of what should and should be expected of SAP board member. It doesn't have to go through OUSC. And it's the same thing for the bylaws, it would just be a 2/3 vote with due process as well as a justification and written documentation of why there is a rule, and it was a 2/3 vote and consent of that application. Secondary appeals, this one was the one that was like biggest intentionally last week and recently changed, for discussion there. And, so currently OUC, the Secondary Committee specifically, facilitates appeals made by. However, appeals don't happen that often, we have to have a single appeal this year, and last school year, we only had one appeal. So this happens way less than had happened in the past. And as far as appeals go, we believe our advisor would be able to adequately judge and investigate whether the board decision was biased or unfair, as they have access to all the financial data that she or he might need, and also have access to what the club is buying and like all the practices that are available between SAP and outside finance.
Oh, my bad.
So basically, this is really similar to how you guys do our appeals, basically, but just it has to be actually proven that the SAP was unfair or biased, and the amount of is remaining of the student allocated budget, and then the rest is like kind of, stuff that is kind of follow that. Activities. So currently the OUC monitors the board activity and ensures fiscal and ethical responsibility. I personally see this as a conflict of interest, since a lot of student organizations that the legislature is actually a part of submit requests to SAFB. And also OUSC doesn't actively monitor fiscal and ethical matters as much as our advisor does, because our advisor is the one who's actually like buying these things that SAFB say is okay. So basically how we would just do this is basically that's literally what you guys had in your bylaws or what we have in our bylaws, except is with under our advisor, so. And for the last couple of slides, it's just introducing our code of ethics that we have. There's 4 points here, and I'm not gonna like read every single one of them. Probably read it on the phone, and I did email them to you guys. I didn't. But I believe that having a code of ethics to stand by and having it made public and having it let the organization know that it exists, and then having them able to with our advisor, with the OSI, with the CE is something that I feel like we help with the issue last week of like how can we make it funding and stuff like that. And so if you guys have questions about the code of ethics, I do believe that it is worth discussing further, but I don't know. I feel like that would be kind of a waste of time. But let me know if you guys have any questions or discussion too. And these are the last 3 things that we've kind of gone through. Thank you.
So we will begin discussion on the bill. I will start with President Garcia.
All right, so I think that the main and solid argument against separation is accountability, especially when you're handling stuff like distribution of funds. Even if you have a code of ethics, it doesn't really mean a whole lot if there's no enforcement mechanism. I think also it's just, especially like, okay, for example, like when we're talking about member approvals, and you were saying, like the people who would be in charge of hiring those people would be former SAFB chair, student congress president. I mean, that's like right now, cause like, if anyone is not aware right now, Nia is interim chair. So I've been doing a lot of SAFB chair interviews. And that's currently what the group is comprised of. It's comprised of me, Gio, and I also invite, their advisor to the meetings, to the interviews as well. The only thing that would be, that would be different if we were to separate is legislative oversight. Oversight of a group of different students, that would be the only thing that would be taken away. And I think that when you think about who is having a say over our own funds, I think that students and legislators are able to promote student interest a whole lot more than advisors are. Don't get me wrong, I love our advisors, they're very helpful and they give a great amount of oversight currently as the process stands. But I think it's so imperative that we don't take away legislative oversight. Thank you.
Legislator DeBoer.
Yeah, I'd just like to second President Garcia's point. It's just, I think student input is imperative to SAFB because of just the sheer amount of overreach they have over multiple different student organizations. And I think with this proposal, all we're doing is taking away from that. Because I appreciate addressing some of the concerns of the SOF committee that were raised last meeting. However, now I think in the form that you presented it, they exist only as just talking to people. They have zero checks and balances over SAFB then. They just exist to just talk to once a month, which I don't see as how that's hearing students' voices very well because they literally have zero say in anything or any way to check you. So I think just we're changing hands from students to Oakland University admin just for the sake of changing hands. And I think that students' voices in this matter are more important.
Can I ask you a question though? Like, why is it so important that SAFB is the only one?
What do you mean it only has checked, only one that has checked?
I mean, like, OUC doesn't have like a reporting person, SPB doesn't have a reporting person, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, WSOU doesn't have a oversight committee, like, why?
Also,
I
handle the distribution of funds.
I'd like to reference the comparison of that brought up last meeting of how SAFB is somewhat of a subset of a government organization. That's being funding other organizations. You guys have so much overreach over so many other organizations that I think it's important to have that those checks by other students and another student organization.
Legislator Waters?
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a quick question, because I've been thinking over the weekend and while you were speaking, and I want to ask you, was this the first option? Like, I know that Gio said that there had been apparently problems for years, but I want to know if anything, and I want to know if anything had, or if any other alternatives were explored. Or, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Explored, but we have no feedback last week, so before comparing this to the like the student legislative, there was no support, but like I said, after that, and I think also basically kind of doing it in a way that's where you see the patterns of Brindle on SAFB, and that was primarily the only other alternative.
Yeah, because I guess I'll just close this out by like, was my thoughts on it, like asking why, like, because I feel like we went from 0 to 100 real fast, and like I feel like maybe there's room to try, or there is room to redefine maybe the relationship between OUSC and FASB, but I don't think going straight to we're separating and we're all that might not be the smartest thing. I mean, I just don't think it's. I think maybe I think that it would be good if we maybe explored some other options with OUSC and FASB. I just feel that we could do maybe a little more exploring, because if this is the only option, then this is the only option, but I feel like we have not explored any other option, and with that, I yield the floor, unless you have a question for me. Thank you.
Kristen Smith.
Yeah, I got a couple of things I want to say. I overall just wanted to agree with Legislator Waters' point that I think that reformation is a better way to go than all-out separation. I think there's definitely room for improvement. I think a majority of people in this room can agree with that. There's room for improvement in the relationship with SAFB. There's room for improvement in nearly every way we operate with SAFB. But I don't think all-out separation is the way to go, simply because of all the checks that we can have on SAFB. And I would also like to say, this is kind of unrelated, that OUSC does have checks. It's the judiciary, essentially. The judiciary does check OUSC, everything that OUSC does, and several inquiries have been filed this term that pointed out discrepancies within OUSC's operations that we have. I'm talking, please, thank you. We're here to ensure that no matter who's in charge in the executive, in SAFB, or who's in the legislature, that everyone is held accountable. Thank you.
Well, I would agree to that. And so, regardless of what else, you guys have organization that is going to be. And so when you say check and oversight, you're talking about the internal, instead of something external.
Speaker Johnson.
Before I take some privilege, because I do need to leave class, I wanted to address a few things that have been said to me and that I've heard. And that's a couple of things that I want to remind the legislature of. A, Chairperson Markowitz is correct. This is not a vote on whether or not we want a separation to happen. It's a vote to let the student body decide that. And if you feel today that your vote is contrary to what the student body wants, then you might have to reevaluate how well you're representing their interests, which is our job. Secondly, my advice to legislators is to always, and this is more about what I personally do in my position, we have to remove ourselves from the equation. Because a lot of arguments I'm hearing are personal and niche and are regarded to personal opinions and not necessarily about the organizations as a whole. We heard from the advisor, who has given a clear view of how SAFB has interacted with Congress. We've heard from the former chair, who echoed the same opinions. And yet, I still hear, I feel, I think, I. I'm not hearing much about SAFB in and of itself. How SAFB may react to this, how the student body may react to this. So my only advice is remove yourself from the equation. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us, it's about the student body. And I believe the last point I intended to make is that we as a group do not get to cherry pick when SAFB is a separate organization. They are a separate organization or they're not. Because I've heard plenty of people say, oh, well, they need to be a part of us, the Student Congress, but they're a separate organization. They're either a part of us or they're not. We don't get to force them to be a part of Student Congress when it benefits us for them to be. We can go all or nothing. That is my opinion, and I will take a personal privilege exception.
Is there a second? Seconded by Legislator Waters to extend debate time by 10 minutes. Legislator Reeves.
Good job.
Like to agree with. I like to agree. I feel like a lot of these arguments are personal. When we're looking to represent the students, we need to think about what the students will want. And I think the best way to do that is to see what they think about it. Along with that, I would like to say some of the arguments. We have to think, like, some of the points might not seem like that well, but like, think about the legislature as a whole. Whether we agree or disagree, or whatever happens afterward, we have to make sure that we pick up the slack that we always have. So,
if it doesn't pass, we have to make sure we read the bylaws and treat SASB more, how should I say this? More important than it seems like we have been doing all this year. If they do, that doesn't mean that the relationship is gonna split, because if you think that the split between SASB and OASU Accord, then you really should not be a legislator, because we are supposed to be representing all students, including SASB. And with that, I would just say, it should be a no-brainer. This should go to the students. And if you feel like you wanna not pass this because you don't wanna pass it to the students, I hope you're comfortable explaining this to the people you're supposed to represent, why you do not believe they are adequate enough to vote for this. With that, I will yield.
Chairperson Markowitz?
Yeah, so a couple points. First of all, I wanted to point out that in terms of the argument that there's just not really any checks on SAFB if they're no longer with us, keep in mind that they govern over, I know it changes exactly how many active organizations they have, but like somewhere around 250 organizations, and who knows how many thousands of students are a part of those organizations. So if they're doing something unethical, I think it's unrealistic to think that students aren't going to speak up and say something. On top of that, and SAFB, feel free to correct me if this is an inaccuracy, but Nia does not have a pool of money that she gives to people, and same thing with Geo before her. They don't have the money. They're not the one that's spending it. It's going through OSI. So if something truly unethical were happening, that would not, that could be something that would be stopped from OSI. And so I think it's just important for us to keep that in mind. On top of that, since they have so many students that they support, students in organizations want quick decisions in terms of funding. They don't want to have to wait longer than they have to. And if SAFB has to go through, unnecessary measures in order to get their members approved and changes made and, other little things that just take them extra time, it's going to result in extra time for the people within their orgs. So yes, of course we want fairness, but I think that it's a little bit naive to say that they're just going to be acting completely unethically without any checks or balances from anybody and can just do whatever they want. With that, I yield.
Legislator Smith?
Yeah, so kind of just piggybacking off of a couple of other points, I think that this should be a decision that's up to the full student body. I think with a lot of them being a part of different organizations, et cetera, I think they should be able to have that vote and that opinion on whether they want to go through this or not. I do think that we also are bringing a lot of our personal feelings into this, and this is kind of separate, but just to be a little nicer to each other, guys, like, I don't know, I think that's something that needs to be addressed and talked about. Another comment I want to make is Nia and the SAFB team clearly put so much work and effort into this, making a slideshow off of your guys' feedback from last week. This is clearly something that I think SAFB has great importance and feelings towards. So I think we at least, I personally have to like owe them that respect to like have that opinion for them to make that decision on their own. Again, to vote on that decision. Clearly, SAFB cares about how we feel about how SAFB should be ran, which again is why they put so much effort into making different changes within what they were going to do within their bylaws. Within she just had like 20 different slides and went through different information of opinions that we had as legislators. So it's not to say that they're not thinking of our feedback and not thinking of our decisions, I think they are. I think it's also okay to have independence. I think that's kind of why we're here, is to let students have a voice, let students have independent thoughts and feelings. SAFB has students, like Mia is a student, Leo is a student. So I think again with that, like we need to keep that in mind of letting students have free will, letting students have the thought and the feelings to govern and to work towards what they feel like is fit for them and for their organization.
Legislator Wiegand?
That's pretty much. I do like the idea of more efficiency. But I don't think there's any guarantee that it would become more efficient. It's not, like in theory it would, but there's no guarantee. So not really 100% in favor of them splitting. I think that there might, if there was like a trial run, or if we wait like a year before and then try again with this legislation next year, if things don't get better with the relationship. In addition to that, I think that the student body, a lot of them, if they don't have a good understanding of student Congress and SAFB, they're not gonna understand this legislation as much as some people might think that they do. I don't think, so giving it directly to the student body might not be the best choice, and a lot of people might just, like, I'm gonna be honest, they might just check it randomly, or like they're not gonna understand it as deep as we hope they would. Thank you.
I would say anything that you guys put before the students, they might not understand. They might just check it. That's regards to anything. Also, we're going to our due diligence and campaigning for this if it were to pass today. We've already sent out emails to the organizations and our group about like what it means and like our relationship with you guys. So I feel like that's a very unfair opinion for this on behalf of the students that they're not educated enough to make a decision.
Director Skinner?
First of all, I agree with Legislator Wiegand. I agree with Legislator Wiegand that we should maybe put this off till next year to have a trial period of things we can improve, things we can get better. And I would also like to say that saying that oversight has never clashed is not evidence that it's not needed. You guys have just done a really good job at putting candidates. You've never put up a bad candidate, but there are no real benefits to getting rid of that oversight. And the only danger is not having it. And this would be transferring all oversight power from the representatives of the student body to one advisor. Who the advisor, Dana, is very good right now. I agree, she's done a wonderful job, but Dana, there's no guarantee that in the future it will be a good advisor, and a rogue advisor is much harder to deal with and much more permanent than maybe an uncooperative student Congress. And sorry, second point, I have asthma stuff. Just because there's been no appeals does not mean that there won't be more appeals in the future. And the representatives of the student body should be the one viewing the defendant's claim, and the defendant being the student putting up the appeal. And I do believe that more divisions among SAFAC organizations just make us weaker as a whole, and also weaken, again, the student body's power on the university campus. And I somewhat agree with Legislator Wiegand that the student body may not be very well informed on the issue. This is more a very deeper constitutional issue that requires a lot of knowledge on this. And that's the point of a representative democracy. That's the reason we don't put every single thing we vote on the ballot, because we represent the students. The students elect us to vote on things that they may not be involved enough to understand. And I know you mentioned campaigning. I feel a recent email sent out about the 1% being taken away didn't seem too accurate to me, and it felt more like I don't want to say disinformation, but it felt a little bit like that, because it scared a lot of student organizations when that fear really wasn't necessary to have. The other floor.
We do have 45 seconds left in debate if anyone. How much?
10 minutes. Okay, motion to extend by 10 minutes from legislator Wolf. Seconded by legislator Director Leatherface.
I'll be swifter than typical. I guess, Nia, I do have a couple questions for you. First, I want to say thank you for coming out here today and speaking before us again. I do appreciate the slideshow, and it shifted my perspective on a few things. I won't lie about that. I guess my first question to you, in your time here, have you seen a nominee to SAFB face significant pushback?
No.
In your time, I forgot to reset the timer. Let me do that. Overachiever Director Richardson over here. Additionally, in your time here, and this goes for, Hallie left. I knew that Gia left. It was noted in the cons that you feel pressured by members of Student Congress to approve budget requests made by them. Have you personally felt as if you needed to bend or break the rules to approve a budget request from your budget?
Mhm. Mhm.
There's never been a situation where we have gone, beyond that, other than, so like, we have going rooms, but there have been business. Oh, this is me, this one, well, like, there have been instances with that. And also, just to like your question about pushback. I would say it's not really about pushback, it's about efficiency, because we have to make our that make us a sufficient as a group. We have to wait for you guys to make decisions. But go ahead.
I was going to say, actually, afterwards, if you could send some of those names to the judiciary chair over there, because they should not be doing that. That is not okay for legislators to be pressuring you to make a decision. That's not all right. And I mean, I have had some decisions against me that I've been bummed, and I've gone to Geo and been like, hey, I saw that this was rejected, or that this or that happened. How can I fix this? What can I do? And that is the attitude that we should be taking. And I guess with a similar note to that, do you feel that pressure when a friend submits are you like, oh, I know this person, I feel like I should approve them because they know you're on the board?
Organization, so no, or I would say friends who I would feel pressured with, because I have other friends who I'm just like. But I would say friends who I would actually care about if they feel pressured, none of them even actually go here. So but definitely can see, I mean, I can't think of password, but that definitely has probably happened.
I wanted to bring those up. But yeah, definitely send along the names of some of those people, not to rat them out, but like they should be ratted out. It's not acceptable behavior for a representative of the student body. But I wanted to just piggyback off of a couple of the points made here, that we are representatives of the student body here. I am concerned that if this goes to the ballot, we are not entering it with a blank slate. Director Richardson, I'm going to ask you to put on your elections commissioner hat right now. You're not allowed to campaign for things prior to the campaign kickoff, correct?
Correct.
And so with the emails that have went out about this proposal, would that be considered campaigning on behalf of a potential ballot referendum? You don't have to give an official answer if you don't want to, that is okay. I'm just concerned that potentially the pool of engaged students is only so big. We're not going to, chances are, if you're involved in a student org, there's a pretty good overlap of like involved in student orgs, involved in campus life, votes in the elections. I think we had what, Advisor Miller, like 600 votes last election or something? 480, that's not a very big number. And I guarantee you, I can't believe you knew that. Can we take a second to get reflex for Vice President Brummer here? Okay, but that's not a very big pool, and a lot of them probably received that email earlier. And without receiving a different side to it, they have a preconceived idea of what's going down. And I'm just concerned that the student body is no longer as neutral as they would have been on the issue otherwise. And so that is one concern I have with bringing it to the ballot. And then also, Frank, I mean, if we are facing the issue of legislators who are paid to know our constitution and SAFB's constitution, not knowing the rules, the student body knows arguably less than we do. And so I have some concerns about that, but I think that you are all competent in what you do. And frankly, when you describe the actions of the SAFB, it sounds like an appropriations committee, because you are appropriating the money, you are earmarking where it goes, you are sending it to the clubs. And what is appropriations if not a function of the government? Thank you. I yield.
And with that, I just want to say that, survey to see would they be interested in the SOS committee or just an informed committee.
There was also the Instagram messages and the Snapchat and there were a few that went out on that front, but it's semantics, sorry.
Yeah. Alrighty, so when we talk about efficiency, because I know that's one of like the major things that people are arguing with regards to separation, I do want to remind everyone that, you know, we don't interfere with their day-to-day operations. It's only like the approval of members, and if there's a worry, that's a valid worry to be like, hey, like, I can't get my board delayed like weeks, you know what I'm saying? Then we can, that's like a reform issue, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like let's write it into our bylaws to make sure that members can't be delayed, like their approval. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's like a reform type of thing, not like okay, let's just split them off entirely. I just think that's like a huge jump. My next thing is also, you know, SAFB is going through a transition of leadership. Like the current chairperson is an interim chairperson. I think, and you know, like the majority of the SAFB board, I think almost the entire board is completely new. I think that if we completely ignore the checks and balances argument and the accountability, we need to I feel like the board needs to be in a more stable position and also have more time to review this, because I mean, Nia, you probably have been working on this for a while now, but we weren't made aware of this until a few weeks ago. I feel like it needs a little bit more workshopping throughout the year, and not just something that's brought on kind of last minute. Just give me a little bit more time, thank you. But I also just want to say too, I also want to remind people that this is not just me trying to grasp onto power or something. I know that we're not allowed to announce that we're running, but there's no rule about announcing that you're not running. I'm not gonna be around here next year. I have no incentive to holding on to anything. This is not impacting me at all. I'm gonna be gone, but I am here to really emphasize the importance, because you guys keep on mentioning how important it is for the student body to have a voice in this, but you guys are here to represent student interest, and this is so important to me with regards to prioritizing student interest. And even with you saying advisors still being here to making sure that, I think also Chairperson Markowitz might have touched on this a bit too, but they also talk about advisors, providing that oversight. But the thing is that advisors don't see when clubs get denied funding. You know what I'm saying? They only see the approvals. They don't see the denials that happen. And that's a really big point that I wanted to point out. But also the last thing that I want to bring up is regards to the whole question about Judiciary Committee being internal. I do want to remind everyone that the Congressional Court is a thing that brings in outside people. It's not just internal checks. Thank you. That's all.
And I'm gonna revert that. So as far as denials go, our advisor does know when we deny requests more, but I would say yes, he does know more from we approve them, but he has gotten several emails regarding SAFB of why you had meetings with clubs and advisors about why SAFB denied it or why they were wrong. So I do say, and she does look at what was denied and I'm oh, this shouldn't have been denied. So there have definitely been times he does. I'm pretty good. And I would say that
you can respond to that.
3 out of 5 people have been in SAB or have been in myself. And Natalie, who can be in SAB, she had to leave because she had an internship, but she's now. And we have all been in agreement that it was SAB should separate, so it's not just board members, it is board members as well. And
Discussion, okay, well,
as part of
student Congress being aware of it much in advance, not just 3 weeks before it's happening.
well, I mean, the bill.
No, but the Congressional Records Committee has been working on this for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've been working on this, right, for months instead of a committee or a group of people.
And
Okay, we have run.
I was going to say, point of information, in the interest of having a quorum for other bills, there is a motion called lay on the table, which would allow us to temporarily set aside this motion run through the others, and then there's a different motion called lift or take from the table, which would allow us to bring this up again, not to kick this down the line, but it would be nice to have a quorum to pass some of the other bills, if people are interested in that. I wanted to make the body aware of the
Okay.
table.
Is there any? Later, Joswicky? Should take. Legislator DeVore?
Point of inquiry, was that a motion to table the bill entirely or motion to limited table the bill?
Lay on the table is like a softer version where it's like, oh, setting it down for a moment. You can pick it up.
This meeting.
It's just so we can get the other stuff.
Clarification, this will. It would be moved down until there's a motion to, begin discussion again and vote on it. All right. So the next bill that we have under old business is CB 6725. This is presented by Director Richardson. You have the floor.
Alright, kind of appreciate the last one we just talked about was the congressional. CRP's, the changes to the Constitution. As we stated in the last time I think we spoke on the changes that we have made. The Congressional Records Committee was made aware to the in October. You all have been aware that we've been meeting. Actually, the month of February, we met every single week. We were meeting monthly up until that. So these are not changes that were made out of the blue, these were changes that have been happening against my school year. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. Going forward, this is a very important bill. We need to vote on changes to the Constitution so they can be voted upon come election. So I hope that we do understand that we need to make quorum here. But I digress, I will continue forward.
I apologize.
I
read it, but again, it's like two versus many of the thing to be our changes to the Constitution, and they follow as such. We want to amend by numbers to clear the executive board bill. For the benefit of the CBD. We want to amend our section A, subsection B, strike 28 and replace it with only. As we discussed, we want to change the limit on the amount of legislators we have in Congress. This is because, yes, we have 28 in our constitution, but we haven't even reached that number in our own legislator in a while. So decreasing it to 25 increases competition for legislators to join the Congress, but it makes it, like I said, more competitive. Members who are very serious about this job are going to be the ones that will get those seats instead of members who are not serious about the position that we have. Create part 2, Article 1, Section A, subsection B. This was not already in the Constitution, so we're just making you aware that Speaker Johnson's position does exist. Insert the following text and subsection below Article 1, Section A, subsection B, section.
I apologize. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Appointment, a legislator may elect speaker and legislator from their membership for the duration of the administration. To the following. The speaker must have served as a legislator for at least one semester preceding the rotation of such candidates.
I would also like for, as a point of information, this is the wording that is within our bylaws. This is just so everyone knows.
Thank you. 2, nominations for the speaker must be made acceptable within the first 3 regular scheduled body meetings in the administration. Again, we already discussed this for the bylaws, and since I already read it out, I'm actually gonna probably move forward, if that's all right with everyone. Okay, perfect. So duties and responsibilities, I think it's also straight from the bylaws. Yeah, so we'll keep skimming, I think until we get to another. There we go, so 4, strike the student service committee and the civics affairs committee and the scholarship committee from the list of standing committees in subsection H, part 1. This does not mean these committees will not exist in the future. It's just being struck as a requirement because these committees have been utilized in a while. Therefore, there could be a requirement in the Constitution, just they may be for future administrations if they would like. Like I said, to strike SSC and SAC from Article 1, Section B, subsection H, part 1. Number 1, Lord. All right, fine. Amend Article 1, Section C, subsection A, part 1 to read each semester instead of the term.
Okay, so basically this is just, is it on?
Yes.
Okay, basically all this is referring to is, in the Constitution, it says how many excused absences you're allowed to have. So this would change it from being 3 excused absences per term. Instead of that, it would be each semester.
All right. Amendment 1, Section B, subsection A, part 1, number 1, to replace shall with may. Okay. Amendment Article 2, Section A, subsection A, part 1, to add and 1 speaker of the legislature to the list of student body vice president. After. Like I said, we were adding that position to the Constitution because it was there. 8, strike financial affairs director, student service director, legislative affairs director, diversity and inclusion director, and marketing director from Article 1, Section A, subsection A through 2. So as we've done with the committees, it's the same for these positions. It's not mean that those positions will not exist. It is up to the administration or what they would like to choose as directors, but it's not going to make it a mandatory requirement. This administration did not fill some of those positions. Past administrations did not as well, so we would just like to strike it for now, did not make it a requirement going forward. Replace administrative assistant with director of internal affairs, again. Time to add. 9, amend Article 2, Section E, subsection B, to replace steering chair with speaker of the legislature. This have to do with the succession. So if the president and vice president are not available, it would just make sense that it would fall actually on the speaker of the legislature instead of the steering chair because they all run together in slate. So it might as well continue down the line that way. Thank you so much. All right. 10, amend Article 3, Section D, subsection B, part 2, number 2, to add, but the committee continues to debate until a consensus can be found via vote after a tie vote fails. I believe this is in the bylaws as it currently stands. Yes, okay. 11 has something to do with the same article. Amend Article 3, Section E, subsection B, part 2, to add that the committee continues to debate until a consensus can be found via a vote after a tie vote fails. Please, if you're please do the substitution. That's what we are changing. Continuing on, number 12, amend Article 3, Section E, subsection C, part 3, number 5, to add, but the committee continues to debate until, again, we're just saying the same thing, basically, but we do the same everywhere. 13, amend Article 6, yes, Section A, subsection C, to add part 1 that reads, in such circumstances, the voting member will be ineligible to vote for the duration of that meeting. Now, what this has to do with is the fact that we've had members, even today, some have shown up 40 minutes late to GBMs, and this is not fair because we do not meet quorum. It could jeopardize us meeting quorum at the very beginning of the meeting, meaning the meeting will never commence, and that's an issue. We shouldn't have members showing up late to GBM anyway, and if they are, they should fill out an absence form or let the judiciary chair know. Not even just the judiciary chair, they can let the vice president or president know. But we've been having issues with this, and to stop this from continuing happening going forward, we would like to put a kind of a, I guess, a punishment for it in a way of just like, you shouldn't be doing this anyway, and now you really shouldn't be doing it because you amend, okay, so 14, amend Article 6, Section B, subsection B, part 1 to replace steering chair with speaker of the legislature. Again, this has to do with secession. Are there any questions?
Director Limavese.
I would like to propose, wow, words, an amendment, to Article 1, Section B, subsection, 7.
Can you just give a number?
Like
the number, if they want numbers.
I just did.
Oh, adding one. okay, my
Oh,
bad.
yeah, adding one, my bad. Which says conduct business in accordance with regulations, procedures, and duties outlined in the Constitution, the University Student Congress bylaws, and oath of office. I would like to add a subpoint, basically just outlining a ban of generative AI use within Student Congress. If you can't write your own bill, you should not be in this body. If you are, and of course, that one would just apply to legislators. So I couldn't find a good paragraph for it under executive branch, but if you give me a moment, I can.
Changes.
I have secured approval from most of the principal sponsors of this bill.
So like to talk to them before we do anything. Because.
Isn't this the
I guess
final-
we made those decisions.
Isn't this the final reading?
Ex officio chair, so I can't be like, yeah.
President Garcia.
A legislator's gonna have to motion to add that.
Oh, yeah.
But I do understand Taylor's point about wanting congressional record committee too. But still, a legislator's gonna have to motion if he really did wanna add that.
We're also allowed to do an unfriendly amendment if we can't secure the support of all sponsors, where it just would be 2/3 of the body.
Okay, there's a motion to add in the point. Yes. Chairperson Smith.
I do agree, with the amendment. I will say that. I mean, we talked about this outside of this meeting. This does seem like more of a bylaws thing. I think I also mentioned, like, this can go like right in our ethics policy, you can ask to ban it for executive board members and legislative members alike, and it'd be easier to get passed, and it just wouldn't be as much of a work as adding it to this. So I think that would be more efficient than adding it to the Constitution through this bill. But with that, you.
So with that being said, is there a second to the motion that parliamentarian Lunger put forth? So there is no second at this time. Okay, legislator Wheaton.
I also agree with the amendment, but I'm wondering how you would enforce it. And also if it would be like a complete ban on all forms of AI or just like making the entire thing by it. Because AI could be used as like a tool, but versus like, yeah, like spell check.
I guess
That's not.
we can discuss that one a little bit later since the amendment got shot down, but I can email you about it.
Legislator Wolf.
I have concern over, clause 13 in this bill.
Yes.
I'm concerned about in times of, in which we are not meeting quorum and, members able to come to the call of duty, either like they get out of class early or like whatever it's in the circumstances keeping them from, the general board meeting that they would be able to show up. And also like, would there be like, a standing, would legislators be able to hold like a standing, like, excuse? It's like, what if they have a class that gets out at like 5:30 and they can get here at like 5:45?
So I can say to make schedule a meeting that. I did it for both winter and fall. I went to meet, goes out to everyone, as you guys know, I get told who can make GBMs and who can make GBMs. If you are a legislator who can make a GBM and you make that obvious and you fill your absent form, let us know. We already know about those, I just wanna, it's mostly for legislators who said, like, yes, I can make the meeting, and then they show up 30 minutes late, and they did not let us know, like, it's pertaining to those only, those voting members only, not like a special circumstance, that we have. So there's gonna be a big point, someone got like past 40 minutes to a meeting, we already know about that, and they filed an absence form, And we've already discussed that if you do file an absence form, or you let somebody know that you're gonna be late, that's the exception.
Okay, the root of my concern is that just from precedents from our National Congress. Is that both in the House and the Senate that members can make a appearance at any time to, come to a vote, and I know that within our own Congress, we try to align with both the country and within our own government.
Yes, and I totally understand that, but we also have a different size than that, much different size, and we have much different, like. We aren't deciding things for the country, we're deciding things just for Open University, and the size difference makes me back from in. Well, it should not me, because there's a vote obviously. But the members of the Congressional Workers Committee have decided that there needs to be something done about members showing up late or not showing up at all, even though they are promised, they have responsibilities, they're not upholding those responsibilities. So
I agree with that, and thank you for telling me more. We really just want to make sure that the membership of this of the committee in both the body thought that this is wise. Thank you for clarification.
yeah, thank you.
Legislator DeVore?
I just wanted to agree with Director Lyman Pace's point about the generative AI and adding that to this bill. However, I would just like to say, for the sake of time, we do need actual text to put in this bill in order to vote on it. And since this is a constitutional amendment, I'd like to remind everybody that the entire student body does have to vote on this bill. And correct me if I'm wrong, Director Richardson, this does have to be done by Wednesday, then by kickoff, in order to go up to the student body.
Yeah, this has to be done by Tuesday.
Okay, so I'd just like to say, I would like to see that change made, but for the sake of time, because this does actually have to be voted on today.
Well,
I'd like to see that revisited in the future, is all I'm saying.
thank you.
I yield the floor.
Legislator Waters?
Thank you. First off, I want to second what was said by Legislator DeVore and Director Lyman Pace. I think that a ban on generative AI would be good, because if you're not gonna write your own bills, what's the point? But second, I also wanted to say that I had thought a little bit since the first reading of this bill about I think it was the very first, let me double check. It's the first clause. Yeah, first is to amend the size of the legislature.
Yes.
And I thought about this a little bit.
Can we scroll up to it really quickly, just in case people are? Thank you.
And I mean, I think that, like, if this was any lower than 25, I'd be against it.
Yes.
But I think that 25 is a pretty good number, especially if we're not hitting 28, to make it more competitive, because I mean, it is my own personal opinion that we do have kind of an issue with legislators not being serious about this body and not showing up, or showing up super late, or anything like that. So I think making the process a little bit more competitive would, even if like we don't reach 25, it's still more competitive to be like, hey, like these are the people that like actually like care. And I feel that I'm very supportive of that after having thought it through. I was neutral before, but I'm very supportive of that now. With that, I get the floor.
Legislator Waters.
Legislator Christian Dara?
Thank you. I'd like to back up what Legislator Waters just said, and I have an additional question about clause 13. How would that affect quorum? Like, would that legislator not be counted toward quorum, or would quorum? Sorry.
They would basically be counted as absent, and they would remain absent.
Okay.
Yes. So they would not be able to. No, they would not be, they would not be doing forms.
Okay. Thank you. I yield.
Legislator DeVore?
I had a question because of that answer. Does that mean they will be marked absent from the entire GBM, which would then count towards their 3 that they've missed for the entire semester, which would lead to removal?
Yes, it very much would.
Okay, that was my only question. I yield the floor.
Legislator Wiegand?
How many legislators do we currently have?
I believe we have
24.
26 or 27.
24.
I think we got 24, we haven't 25 yet. That is election.
Is there an estimate on how many spots we would have open up for next year for any?
Maybe today. Elections haven't been had, so it would just depend on that. But whatever's happening, I was probably referencing now, everything that is being changed now does not apply to this election. So it really would be in effect, like next year. If that makes sense. Thank you.
We've reached 10 minutes.
Okay, okay, there's a motion to extend discussion by 5 minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by legislator Joswiecki.
I would potentially like to move to strike clause 13. Because just the nature of this being a constitutional amendment and the Constitution is supposed to be, somewhat resistant to change, and reform is supposed to be, measured and slow. And I would be worried about future emergent circumstances and other things in which that we would need to have expedient, flexibility with something like this. Because I would hate to have a body in which is not, that is, out of bounds with its constitution, allowing people to vote that constitutionally are ineligible to vote. I believe that there is other disciplinary actions we could explore within bylaws and within the culture of our body, and I just believe it'd be unwise to have such a clause in such a resistant document. And I motion to strike clause 13.
Is there a second? Seconded by legislator Joswiecki. Contested by Chairperson Smith, so we
vote on
will
it.
vote whether or
Striking.
not clause 13 will be striked from the bill. All right, Chairperson Smith. Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins. Legislator Rosario.
What was that?
Okay. Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf. Speaker Johnson is here. Let me. Yeah.
We just barely got going.
No. Yes, she is. My apologies. Okay.
Jeff is here.
Did I ever see click it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have a member voting who couldn't.
Okay. Legislator Iveza is
Present.
Is Maria with you? If not, I will go ahead and mark her as. Okay, lovely. Thank you for the clarification. Okay. My apologies for the delay, everyone. Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson Valdez. We still do have quorum. So we will go ahead and proceed to continue the vote regarding striking clause 13. Majority Leader Smith.
Nay.
Chairperson Valdez. I see a nay in the chat. Chairperson Markowitz,
Abstain.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Was that a nay? Okay, thank you. Legislator Ali. Legislator Childs.
Yeah.
Legislator Jozwicki. Legislator Iveza Adrian. Nay for both legislator Ivezas. Thank you.
We should. I feel like we need verbal confirmation.
I will trust it. Legislator Prishnadaro. Legislator Wiegand. Ready.
And we don't strike
Can we
it.
pause the discussion clock and?
Yes.
So we have a total of 5 yeas and 11 nays. So therefore, clause 13 will not be striked. Stand in the bill as is. All right, continuing discussion. Director Lima Pace.
I know I have no vote on this matter, but frankly, with the failing of that amendment, I cannot in good conscience endorse something like this. Life happens. If you've never been 15 minutes late to something, you're lying. I don't think someone should be stripped of their voting rights because they're 15 minutes late to something. That's ridiculous. Most of you just voted in favor of something like that. And I'm worried that perhaps that amendment got shot down without the proper consideration. Additionally, I support a lot of the other measures in this, but I was also concerned that some of the changes, like Legislator Wolf brought up, are a bit like sweeping. And honestly, as Director Matthews said, I would have liked to have seen this brought up sooner. I have heard the entire semester that, or not even the semester, the whole term, that constitutional changes are being worked on. I would have liked to have seen some of these brought to the body at some point during the process so that the public could air some of the issues that they had on the matter, so that the Research and Review Committee could have perhaps factored some of them in instead of doing it all behind closed doors, which I understand is their job and I don't fully fault them for. I think that having more input from the body that is going to be voting on this would have been wise. And I think that this should be held off another year, frankly. And I don't think it's fair to strip voting rights from people who are 15 minutes late. Thank you.
Okay, so I have 2 points to make to that. One, the first point, your voting rights are not stripped if you just simply file an absent form. It takes you maybe 2 minutes max to fill out the entire form, or just let somebody know. It is as simple as that. Your voting rights will not be stripped if you just let people know you will not be there. It is for the people who do not file out the absent form or just simply ignore its existence. There's a reason we have the absence. There's a reason that we have rules in place that if you get more than 3, you get, I believe it's a sanction, or you get a grievance for it. Right? Yeah, well, certain language there. But we are trying to make it, it's not a way we're taking forward and we're taking your rights as a legislator. It is simply, if there is a consistent problem where people are not showing up when they're supposed to for the student body, that is your number 1 responsibility, showing up for the student body, then maybe you are not fit for this job. It's as simple as that. And if filling out an absence form, I mean, we have phones, we have computers every single day. It's in front of us all the time. It should not take you it shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes to fill out that absence. Another point that I wanted to make is
this not being brought up sooner / like reforms being worked on for a while and us not really hearing about them directly.
The reason for that, so as far as I'm aware, my committee is the only committee in which it says the only members who are. That proves that there is some confidentiality to what is being discussed in these meetings. And I've had people in the office and they've been like, oh, you guys are starting a Congressional Records Committee. I've been like, yeah, please exit the room. We need to talk about this privately. I mean, these are the highest members of our Congress, like, there are only certain members allowed, so to me, that proves that this is confidential. And the only thing that I can communicate forward is that, yes, changes are being made and you guys will see them soon. I mean, if it wasn't confidential, then I don't think, I feel like I could recruit any. So that's what I say.
Legislator DeVore.
Just as a point of inquiry, if you were to fill out said absence form and return after the 15 minutes, like if you were to show up 15 minutes late, do you then regain voting rights, or are they locked for the remaining of the meeting?
I'm gonna turn it over to Person Smith for that.
Yes, so essentially, just a quick rundown, just a rerun through. So say, oh no, I'm gonna be late for a meeting. Let's assume I'm not judiciary chair in this situation. That makes this easier. Oh no, I'm gonna be late for a meeting. I know I'm gonna be late. This is a random thing. I don't know, I did a thing and now I'm gonna be late. Unusual. I would say this is less of a file and excuse absence form, more as just contact the judiciary chair, especially, I mean, the vice president, president, sure. But the judiciary's chair and say, hey, I'm gonna be late, just so you know, yada, yada, yada. Great, that's perfect. 15 minutes passes. If you didn't notify anybody, yes, you would be counted as absent for the rest of the meeting. But since I'm cool and I let somebody know, then it would be fine. You come, you get counted as present or present voting, whatever you wanna do, and voila, everything's fine. There isn't like a major thing where you're stripped of your voting, even though like it's like a super reasonable thing. Like exceptions are always granted. That is one thing I've learned about my nearly a year as being judiciary chair. There's exceptions for literally everything. And this would just be another case of that without a yet.
I want to mention that I think we kind of pivoted. We have escaped to like all of these emergency situations of like, what if this occurs? What if this occurs? What if this occurs? What occurs every single meeting? We still have members that show up 40 minutes late. We still have members that show up 20 minutes late or an hour late. All right. How much longer can we excuse that? How much longer can we go forward when it takes them 2 seconds to jump on the Slack and message the judiciary chair? Some of you even have her phone number. The committee decided that it is not reasonable to have members that show up late when their responsibility is to vote with the student body. I mean, 40 minutes into a meeting, on a regular meeting, not like a meeting like this one, we're already voting on things. So it's like, if you're gonna show up just when we start voting, I mean, you haven't even heard new business, you haven't even heard any guest speakers, that should not be allowed. Again, I shouldn't say we, because I'm not a voting member. The committee has decided that it cannot be acceptable to just decide you are part of student congress when you want to be. GBM is the most important thing, and General Assembly are the most important meetings that you can attend as a legislator. And you get paid to do so. So why would you not want to fully commit to something? I mean, you went through this entire process through the election, or you went up for approval. You went up through this entire process. Why would you want to hold yourself to such a standard that the rest of your members have been holding themselves up to? So I want everyone to remember that, yes, emergency situations exist. And like Chairperson Smith just said, there are exceptions, but it does not take you 20 minutes to simply message her or fill out an absence form, just to let us know as a heads.
Legislator Weekend.
Thank you. I was somewhat disappointed that the amendment didn't get passed because life does happen and, you know, maybe you lost your phone somewhere, you can't contact anyone. There are some circumstances where you might end up getting your voting rights stripped away without actually deserving them to be stripped away. But I also see the other side where people are taking advantage of the flexibility, and that's causing an issue, and we need to get rid of that issue. So to me, even though the amendment didn't get passed, which I do wish it did, I still think that this legislation is passable and that we should pass it because it needs to be passed before the voting starts.
Exactly, the student body still needs to vote on this. Let's remember, the student body still has to have their voice on this. It is not just us deciding right here and then that, bam, these are the new rules. So please remember that. Thank you so much.
So even though yeah, just even though the amendment didn't get passed, I still think it should be voted yes.
Legislator Wolf?
I don't know, I can't speak for other voting and non-voting members to an extent, but I would say that I would be more than comfortable with this, with clause 13. If there was some sort of added language that, you know, that it is under review from executive board or like, you know, because I feel like since this is a constitutional amendment, there should be a constitutional mechanism in which, you know, there is, because from just this language alone, like I just, is there other additional language within the Constitution that would allow for, like someone on the executive board or the judiciary committee to waive the sanction of being ineligible to vote for the duration of the meeting?
So currently there is not language, I would say, stated in the Constitution. But I want everyone to know that this is not an executive board decision. The speaker or the legislator is a member of this committee and he has a voice. You could argue that the judiciary chair does too. He's like a in between, I would say. If they felt it was a concern to add said language, they would have added said language. I think it's, you know, we gotta remember the Constitution, similar bylaws, you know, do not say every little detail. It is kind of a given going forward. Like there are some things in the Constitution that aren't specifically stated, but the body knows that that is the rule and you must follow it. So we can't have, I mean, yes, we could, but we also have to understand that one, this has to be voted on today. And two, things like the absence form, you know, we know, everyone should in this room should know that you have to file that if you are going to be absent or there's things against you. And so I just feel like this is one of those things that, yes, I think it would be great, but we want to have the time and we can be nitpicky of the language that we include when it should just be already known and it will be known if it is.
All right, we are out of time for discussion, so we're gonna go ahead and move to a vote regarding CB 6725. Also, before we vote, as a point of information, this bill will require a 2/3 vote of approval in order to pass because it is constitutional amendments. Chairperson Smith. Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins. Legislator Rosario. Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf.
You can pass. No, pass just means you get come.
Come back to me,
Majority Leader Smith.
Abstain.
Abstain. Chairperson Valdez. See a yay in the chat. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali.
Yay.
Legislator Childs.
Yay.
Legislator Driswicki. Legislator Iveza. Ivezas are a yay in the chat. Legislator Prishandaro. Legislator Wiegand. Legislator Wolf. Alrighty, with that, CB 6725 has been approved by the legislature. Alrighty, next up on the agenda under old business is CB 6727. This is presented by Chairperson Smith. You have the floor.
Thank you. Apologies if my hyper right now. So essentially, we read over this, last meeting. This is to, give more money than we already have allocated, currently we have $500 allocated to fund the, drag show that is, being put on by the Gender and Sexuality Center and, SAGE, the, LGBTQ plus student org. This is essentially to just allocate another $1,000 from our, on our uncategorized funds, a lot of uncategorized funds, to that show. And also, this was added. Don't think that you're just like crazy. You didn't see this last week. It didn't exist last week. This is to simply allocate, $200 from the uncategorized funds to the line item GSC office donations for something that Director, Layman Pace told me it was for printer ink, wasn't it?
Yeah, they want like a backup.
Yes,
They want some money.
printer ink, essentially. We already help fund a lot of things in their office because they're broke, and we are not. So, yeah, that is essentially what this bill is.
Is there? Legislator Waters?
Thank you. I just wanna say I am very supportive of this bill. This is a major event on campus. As it says in the whereas, there is usually over 600 attendees. That's big. That is a major campus event and a lot of students go to this. If I feel that it's just, I mean, in my opinion, it's just a good use of our money. It assists the student body with an event that they are interested in. Yeah, I think that this is also a very personal thing for me. I really think that this, I'm voting yay, and I encourage all you to vote yay. And with that, you vote.
Legislator Prishadaro?
Legislator Waters, again, covered many of the things that I was going to say, but, I would like to entreat Chairperson Smith to talk more about the history of the show and, the magnitude of the event.
Really, I can do that. So yeah, essentially, just looking through the records because I wanted to have a little bit of accurate information for this. OUSC has been helping fund the drag show since about 2013. Before COVID, we would routinely fund around $2,500, $3,000 towards the drag show. In total, the drag show costs around $9,000, $10,000, and it hovers around there. And yeah, this is like just a massive event for not just the organizations that are, sponsoring and putting on this event, but just for the campus as a whole. I mean, this is one of the biggest events held on campus. And it's happening in like 2.5 weeks. Sounds right. And it's been going on. This is the 20th annual drag show this year, but it's been going on for like 22. There's a couple of cancellations.
Oh man.
Yeah. I think, yeah, 2020, 2021. So yeah, this is a very important show, and I encourage you all and implore you all to vote for it. Or if you're against it, vote nay instead of abstaining. Abstaining is weird.
All right, is there any other discussion or questions on CB 6727 at this time? Director Layman Pace?
Do we know what exactly this funding will be used for, in regards to the drag show? Like, what would we be spending the money on? Thanks.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked. I have an exact list that if any of you guys actually want to see, probably not right now, but after the meeting, I can send it to you. It's mostly just like baseline equipment, like, oh, we need this for decorations, we need this to make decorations, that sort of stuff. It's a large amount of stuff. I believe we are funding some of the tableware as well. Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion on the bill before we move to a vote? Okay, we will go ahead and move to a vote. Chairperson Smith?
Yeah.
Legislator DeVore? Legislator Mullins? Legislator Rosario? Legislator Waters?
Yeah.
Legislator Wolf. Majority Leader Smith.
Nay.
What?
The red box near simple majority. Oh. Thought that was the quorum.
Sorry. Chairperson Valdez. There is an abstain. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali. Legislator Childs.
Yay.
Legislator Drizwicki. Legislator Iveza. That is an abstain for both. I will check on quorum.
No, it doesn't tell you. You just gotta count. You just have to count.
I know, but I need to know.
We had like one this year.
Okay. Legislator Frushendaro. Legislator Wiegand.
Okay, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Okay, so we do have quorum.
Did it pass?
And there was a total of 9 yeas and 5 nays, which means that CB 6727 has passed through the legislature. Next up, we have CB 6722. This is presented by President Garcia. You have the floor.
Hey everyone, so as you know, I have been planning the United Student Governance Conference for a while now. We're gonna have 11 public universities from all over Michigan visiting OU's campus, which is pretty significant. So there's gonna be, more than 100 students from all over the state here to visit us, so that's pretty cool, and they're all from student governments. So we can all talk about our initiatives, and I think it's gonna be a really great time. And it brings a lot of visibility to our campus, but basically the only expense that's going to be associated with this is feeding them. So we're gonna be feeding over 100 people for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because it's gonna be a whole day's worth of shenanigans. And so yeah, that's $3,200 from uncategorized funds. Any questions?
Director Skinner.
I would just like to say that, I think this would be a great opportunity to not only learn what other student governments are doing, which I think will make us more effective, more efficient, just better at our jobs, because we can learn what other people have done that has succeeded and has failed. And honestly, we can teach other people how to succeed though, so that all of these universities can be better at their jobs in serving the student body. I think this will be a great learning experience. I think I'm giving a presentation there as well, maybe. Yes, okay, yes, it will be good.
Legislator Wolf.
If I'm not mistaken, well, to begin, this is kind of a tradition, and various campuses every year host it, and we have the privilege of being able to host this. And because we are hosting, we have the unique opportunity that I believe that all members of Congress at OU will be able to attend. No, but an increased amount than other campuses. So there's a good chance you'll be able to attend if you are interested.
I mentioned this like a couple weeks ago. I'm so sorry for sure bubble legislator Wolf. I mentioned this like a few weeks ago, and I said that there's like a limited spaces that each university can take up. So I asked you all to attend, and those seats have already been taken. So unfortunately, not the entire body, but a good portion of it's going to be able to attend.
All right, is there any other discussions or questions on the bill before we move to a vote? All right, we'll go ahead and move straight to a vote then. Chairperson Smith.
Yay.
Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins.
Yeah.
Legislator Rosario. Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf. Majority Leader Smith.
Yeah.
There is also a yay in the chat from Chairperson Valdez. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali. Legislator Childs. Legislator Drizwicki. Legislator Ibeza. Yay in the chat for both. Legislator Prishandaro. Legislator Wiegand. All right, with that, CB 6722 has been approved. All right, next up on the agenda, we have CB 6724. This is also presented by President Garcia. You have the floor.
We already have a program. Have capping gowns for people to rent, but they're undergraduate capping gowns. But they have a demand for master's capping gowns. And so because we have the money for it, I think it's our duty to be able to make students' lives at least a little bit cheaper, or at least cheaper for a few students. So this bill would go towards buying some master's capping gowns to get to the food pantry for them to be able to master's graduates. Especially because they spend so much money in tuition, and they still have to pay over $100 for a cap and gown. So that would kind of help towards that problem.
Is there any questions or discussion on CB 6724 at this time? Director Skinner, is that? Director Skinner? Okay, seeing no discussion, we will go ahead and move to a vote. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
This is. What do most people eat their caps and gowns at? Can't keep more people put it.
That's what I'm saying. Mine is just normalize donating your gowns.
All right. Is there any other questions or discussion on CB 6724? All right, hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. Chairperson Smith. Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins. Legislator Rosario. Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf. Majority Leader Smith.
Yeah.
And I see a yay in the chat from Chairperson Valdez as well. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali. Legislator Childs. Legislator Drizwicki. Legislator Ibeza. Yay in the chat. Is it safe to assume? Okay, lovely for both. Okay. Legislator Prishandaro. Legislator Wiegand. Alrighty, with that, CB 6724 has passed. Legislator DeVore. All right, a motion to raise CB 6724 to the floor, seconded, 26, my apologies, seconded by Chairperson Smith. Okay, thank you.
Do we have 4?
Yes. All right, Chairperson Matthews, you have the floor.
As of right now, I don't really have any, point of discussion for myself, other than I know you guys are very concerned about our advisor having, the oversight. You guys feel like it should be students. And I honestly think that, I mean, we're allowed to agree to disagree, but I also do think that the students should have a say, like actual student body should have a say on this and should have a vote on this as well, not just the legislative body. And
Is there any questions or discussion before we move to a vote? Director Lehman Biggs?
I did want to say, I know, this had came up at the last student government conference. People were talking about, oh, is your club funding separate from student congress or is it included in student congress? And a couple of people said that like when their club funding apparatus separated, their clubs started noticing they were getting less money and a little less. And I'm not saying that would happen with our current board. I trust all of you to be objective. I'm just potentially worried about the future. And years down the line when, maybe that funding for clubs gets a little leaner and leaner and suddenly it's kind of petering out. So that I think that that's just something to be mindful of, but I'm glad that we picked this back up from the table. Thank you, I yield.
Yeah.
Been a long time since I talked, so I thought I would just chime back in. Now, I am a neutral standpoint, as I do represent you all as well as everyone else. I'm seeing all the money, so I do not favor anybody, and I don't have friendships. So therefore, I have pushed against many of things that SAFB has brought to me, and they have also pushed against me, and we have been in many meetings. Also ones in which we've involved OUSC. And I think that I just wanted to point out a few things from what I was hearing. So SAFB does have students on the board. They are represented. They do vote yays and nays every meeting that I'm in. There are yays, there are nays. I see them. So students should be able to state if they believe having advisors as the appeal reviewer or hiring reviewer or bylaw reviewer is sufficient or not to them. I'm not saying that I want another job because I don't, but I do want to say that I am so intertwined with this group that if things go awry, I'm in every single aspect of this. And I am there for what is right. And if that changes, if I were to leave and that changes, we had talked about what that would mean because they don't want an advisor's grip hold on them either. But the thing is that if I were to leave or if someone else came in that was not as easygoing or involved, which I would hope that from the understanding of anything, they would see how intertwined everything is, that they would be a part of it. But that there would be a hierarchy, as there is a hierarchy for you all now. If you all have an issue with your own advisor, you can go up the chain. So if the advisor was put in place, if that was the answer, then if there was an issue from the student organization themselves who didn't feel like they're being treated fairly, if SAFAC felt like they were being treated fairly, you can go up the ladder that way, just like in any HR company, business whatsoever. So if there was something that was unfair, you could still move up the line that way if everything came collapsing down. One other thing is I'm not 100% sure of the input that OUSC has that's any different than the information that we already have. So advisors seeing everything, I'm getting the emails, I'm seeing the students coming in panicked. Can you do this? Can we wiggle this in? We are molding it to them at all costs. You may see that my responses to tickets are, hey, you did this, but be aware that you did that. We are trying our best to inform from all aspects. We are working hard to make sure that things are fair. And we are working really hard on those forms and making sure that it's just a flow process and that hopefully things are amended and fixed up. But I just wanted to say that if there was an issue the other way, if OUSC was in a friendship with someone and they're behind on a late submission and they really, really want an exception, or they're really over the dollar amount and they want more. If for some reason there is a friendship at your level, that is a possibility. There has been that possibility. An advisor is not friends with any of the students. It is a neutral place that represents all student works. So I just wanted to say that input so that you guys know that you can always come to me and I will find where it makes the most sense. And who is being treated unfairly, and I will fight for it, regardless of who's in front of me. Thank you.
President Garcia?
Look, I think that Dana has done an incredible job, but we also need to remember that, like, you know, SAFB went without an advisor for months. You know, and who's to say that's not to happen again? Who's to say, you know, we don't know who's gonna be advisors next, but we can say that having the legislature as an oversight kind of provides that continuity. Also provides clear avenues on improving processes if we deem them, you know, unfit. You know, if there's so much red tape for students to get the funding that they deserve, then, you know, there's clear avenues about legislators being able to put forth bylaw reforms. Because again, I think that reform is, I think, the most clear solution rather than just complete separation, but.
Yeah, go ahead. So I would say that as legislators, we are actually curious. We take feedback and we see things that want our end that work and that could be easier. And I would say that we will take students' feedback regardless if we were separated, not separated. And us being separated, we would have more autonomy to say, okay, this makes sense. Okay, this is what this definitely should happen, and it might make things easier for you, but and so us being able to say no to some of your suggestions is autonomy that we also.
Legislator Wolf?
In the past, most public institutions have been incredibly hostile or indifferent to various religious, social, political and ethnic minorities. And I believe in increasingly politically polarized and hostile national, you know, like situation. I hesitate to remove to have a student organization be one step away from a democratically elected student, you know, governance. And I see the merit in separating in terms of efficiency, but I think there's many reforms that can be made. And in terms of the hiring of SAFB employees and chairs and whatnot, there could be an option for, like, perhaps, you know, after the hiring and approval from the advisor and all that, there is instead, you know, like, rather than meeting a positive, you know, go ahead from us, that OSC simply might have the option to dissent, you know, which would, in an absence of
of any dissent from us, you know, like if we don't say anything, that hiring can go ahead without any of our input. And I just believe that there are reforms to be made, and my reservations are not at all about SAFB as an org itself, or the people, or the great people who make up it and advise to the board. I am simply hesitant to have such an organization take one step further away from, you know, the voices of like democratically elected students who represent students. Because there has been a past in our country in which various ethnic, religious, and social and political minorities, they could be denied funding just simply on the basis of that, regardless of what any bylaw, but you know, like, I am concerned, you know, in terms of just like bureaucratic oversight, because quite frankly, there has been a great censure of certain words such as simply transgender or woman in terms of federal funding towards research. And I just believe that it could be a matter of time before, you know, as, you know, like, in a, you know, nebulized way, various, universities might begin to, within their own administration become hostile to religious, ethnic, social, and, you know, like, political minorities. And I believe that that there is no better voice than the voice of the people. I yield.
Time for discussion is over. We've reached 10 minutes.
Okay. So discussion has ceased for CB 6726. So we will go ahead and move to a vote. All right, Chairperson Smith. Legislator DeVore. Legislator Mullins.
Yay.
Legislator Rosario.
Yay.
Legislator Waters. Legislator Wolf. Majority Leader Smith.
Yeah.
Chairperson Valdez. Abstain in the chat. Chairperson Markowitz.
Yay.
Parliamentarian Lunger. Legislator Ali.
Yay.
Legislator Childs.
Abstain.
Legislator Ibeza. Nay for both. Legislator Prishendaro. Legislator Wiegand. Alrighty. Legislator Waters. All right, since the bill would have required a 2/3 majority to pass, CB 6726 does not pass the legislature. My gavel for that.
Gavel.
All right. Next up on the agenda is discussion. We have nothing under discussion for today. So we will go ahead and move on to legislative updates. First up under legislative updates, we have the Speaker of the Legislature. Speaker Johnson is no longer in the meeting today, so we will go ahead and move on to liaison reports. Is there any liaisons who would like to provide their report? Parliamentarian Lunger.
PCO, Meet the E-Board event is scheduled on Monday, March 24th. I believe it's on 6:30 to 9 p.m. And we're looking for a president, a vice president, and a treasurer of the PCO. If anyone's from OUSC or any other orgs are interested, please reach out to Director Skinner.
All right, is there any other liaison that would like to provide the report at this time? Great, seeing none. Chairperson Markowitz?
Sorry, just a quick thing. The student panel for faculty and staff is next Monday, the 17th from 3 to 4, so right before our general body meeting. All the panelists are selected, and if you look on the OU main page, there's an article about it, which is really exciting from the OU News. With that, I yield.
All right, thank you, Chairperson Markowitz. Is there any updates related to legislative projects and initiatives at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Is there any questions related to legislative reports at this time? Hearing and seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to executive reports. First up, we have President Garcia.
You guys, this is like the first meeting that I didn't do my report. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I well-deserved red flags. Very well-deserved red flags. But some of the things that come to mind though that are really important for you all to know is that Marion and I went to a Senate steering committee. We presented the resolution that Marcus wrote with regards to DEI, and they blocked us from presenting it for them to vote on the Senate. The reason that they gave was that they're, you know, I'm sorry, please. All right, so the reason that they I agree with your sentiments, Director Lehman-Pace, but let's okay. But basically the reasoning that they gave is that they're afraid that the language DEI could risk federal funding because of, you know, federal action against DEI. And I understand like their motive to kind of want to, you know, their institutional like perspective to want to like protect us, but I think it's a little bit weird to comply in advance. And so right now we are planning something something fun. I think it's gonna be, it's very much based in love and unity, some would say. And if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about that, it's just gonna be like an event to kind of bring a lot of people together and show support towards welcoming and unity on campus. Another thing that I did was I went to the student organic farm. We're also gonna, okay, so I really want student congress to like go in a group and go to the student organic farm because we have shown a lot of like support to them in the past. And I think that if we all went to go see it, I think we can kind of visualize it because I think a lot of people haven't been there. And let me tell you, like I've been having a rough couple of weeks, but when I went there, like it felt like everything was just fine again. You know what I'm saying? Also, they're just in need of a couple of things, and I think it would be fun to just go there and kind of see what the students are working on all the way on the other side of campus. But as always, I'm always meeting with directors. I know that Nick has some really cool things going on, things getting planned for sustainability Earth Month, which is really fun. And I know that Tuba's working a lot of really great marketing stuff too, but she's not here today, but I'm just gonna yield my time because this is a really long meeting. Thank you.
All right, I will also keep my stuff very quick. In regards to course markings, I am hoping to put up CB 6707, my resolution supporting that very soon. If you are not a supporter, it is in the Slack. Let me know if you want to be added. I will also be meeting with all of the department chairs here at OU. Big thank you to the provost, Kevin Corcoran, for allowing me to do that. That'll probably be something happening in early April. So if anybody has numbers on how much they've spent on textbooks in 1 year, please let me know, because I would like to be able to bring some data to them to illustrate just how much of a financial burden textbooks alone and other course materials put on students. Also, I had a meeting with VP Steve Mackey He's kind of the one that basically makes the entire budget for the university, and I had discussed the SAF increase with both him and VP McIntosh. And that was a very successful meeting. He said that he's very supportive of us getting an increase, especially because when this SAF was set, we did not get compensated. So the current SAF does not account for the fact that we are also paying people within SAFAC to do their jobs. I will continue working on that. I reached out to him ensuring that the SAF that we proposed at $40 will not interfere with the state set maximum for tuition. So he is going to give me for sure clarification on that very soon. But with that, I will go ahead and move on because it's been a long meeting.
I deleted the stuff that happened last week.
Okay. I will next move to our advisors. Advisor Miller.
For one thing, we have a watch party going on for OU, and right now it's 46 to 38 in favor of OU. The same thing tonight, we will be taking a bus to Indianapolis tomorrow. If you are interested in going, as soon as the game's open, we'll start signing people up. The only cost is you have to pay for your own ticket, and for students, the cost is only $10. Otherwise, the bus ride is free, but we leave at noon. We won't get back till 3 o'clock the next morning. But it's an adventure, and if you are a Golden Grizzly fan, I would definitely encourage you to have this experience as part of your college. Also, I have, if anyone is interested, we are changing resorts. We are going from the anthology that we currently have the platform. We are going to My Sale. And I need some OUSC legislators or executive board members to help us, because right now we're trying to set something up and we need a couple of you to be able to observe what's happening as we are doing this switch. The switch won't be completed until June, but we are setting up how we're going to present this to the students, and we need your help. If you are interested in helping us in figuring out this next step, I think OUSC is one of the portals that we're working on. Please email me at jan@open.edu. Looking for specifically OUSC individuals. And then the other thing is next Tuesday night, there is a leadership conference that is open to all students. It is from 5 to 7. And one of the bonuses is if you participate, there are 5 $500 scholarships that will be given to individuals that answer short answer essays after attending the conference. Pretty good chance of your opportunity of getting a $500 scholarship, so think about that. And the other thing is nominations are open for student organizations and student leaders. We also have 5 $500 scholarships for very involved commuter students, as well as very involved students that have been doing volunteer work. And then you can self-nominate or nominate others. It's on Resorts now.
I have a quick question. So this leadership conference tomorrow, where's more information?
Next week.
Next week. Oh, where's more information?
Give it to you.
Okay. I was also wondering, if we did win one of the scholarships.
I believe there's for,
This semester.
I don't know if it's for this conference one, but for the one denomination one, you are eligible to still win. If you have no balance, you get the $500 check sent to you.
Great. Are there any updates related to eBoard projects and initiatives at this time? All right, seeing none, is there any questions related to executive reports at this time? Moving on, is there any comments from the gallery at this time? Okay, all right.
I forgot to give my executive. I just had some quick points.
Director Skinner.
Okay. Don't the red flag.
Don't be overachiever.
I was gonna say, the OWL event went extremely well last week. We had over 50 attendants. Lots of, we're gonna have it next year, I hope. Next year, we'll have it. The Wild Robot, we're showing the Wild Robot movie. We've got the place, yeah, well, there will probably be popcorn there. That's March 19th from 6:45 to 9 in the OC. So the Wild Robot, if you want to see that movie. And we are coming up, trail meeting is really soon, so if anyone wants to help work out on the trail. When we get into some outdoor work, exercise in, reach out to me, and I'm forming a trail crew. Yeah. Yeah, that's it, yeah. Oh, Repair Cafe is either April,
I'm sorry, I have to, I can pull it up.
it's
April 10th.
April 10th.
Legislator DeWart.
Really quickly, I would like to thank the gallery members. This is by far the longest meeting I've been a part of. These people. Yeah, listening to us, yeah. Probably the most contentious meeting of the year. So I would like to thank you, especially Kayla Snell. She's been here several times. Celebrate them a little bit. With that, I yield the floor.
All right. Is there any other announcements anyone would like to make at this time? Seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:15.